only ever get. I don't break out too often, like if ever. But like when I do, it's just like one big one like this. It's like a fucking crater.
But
It's
you
I'm
know
like,
what?
what is
As
going
far
on?
as like breakouts go, that's not so bad, man. And I mean, I had some really rough ones, where it's scarring and everything.
Oh, well, but these come at like the most inopportune time. Like they'll come on picture days and things like that. Like, dude, I was a teacher not too long ago, and and on picture day, this motherfucker was right in the middle of my head. Luckily they do touch ups, right? So I was like, all right, cool, like it's fine. But it's like just like the fact that it came like 1 or 2 days before, I'm like, wow, fresh cut, big ass pimple, sick.
Oh, dude, I remember when I was in seventh grade, the morning of picture day, for some reason, I just got a huge ass pimple on my nose, like right at the tip of my nose. And I don't know if, I don't know how old you are. I think you're 30, right? So
Yeah.
you know what Clearasil is?
Oh hell
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I just put that like layers and layers of that cream all day up until
Uh,
picture time in the afternoon. And luckily enough, had put so much on, I just dried the shit out of it. So by like 2 p.m., I was able to
it
just
was
peel it
cool.
off, and it was cool. I was like, oh, I was so relieved.
Damn, that's hella funny.
Yeah, it's funny, like something like
That's a
that.
saving grace right
Yeah,
there.
it's almost like the end of the world, like the end of the world. At that age,
No, straight
right?
up, especially in seventh grade. Hell yeah, for sure. I'm like, I forget what I was doing in seventh and eighth grade, but I know I wasn't really tripping off pimples. No, actually, I was just trying to go get hosed.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's the thing,
luckily,
right?
I didn't
Like,
break out.
I don't know, like when you were in seventh grade, but like when I was in seventh grade, because I'm 40, so I'm a little bit older than
Mhm.
you, but like in true Asian form, right? We don't look like we're old.
Oh no, for sure. I still look like people still think I'm like 18,
Yeah,
19.
I can definitely see that, man. And you're 30, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like when I was 18, 19, I looked hella young. But now that I'm like 30, getting a little bit older, getting up there, I'm like, all right, cool. Like it's starting to work out for me,
I
you
know it's
know? And
starting
I
to be.
always knew it was gonna be like that, but I was just like, you just gotta be patient, man. You gotta hit the 30 so everybody doesn't know what age you actually are.
Yeah, it's got to balance out. But I was saying, like back in my day in seventh grade, the whole like getting your picture taken thing was all about the girls asking for your picture, right? It's
Hmm.
all about trading
Yep.
on. It was the same thing for
And
you.
then putting in the front of the
Yeah,
binder.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They had like the sticker versions of the pictures too. So it's kind of
Woo!
like a total poll, right? How many girls are asking for my picture? So yeah, that pimple on that tip of my nose that morning. It's like, oh shit, it's not good.
That's hella funny.
Oh man, it's hilarious. But yeah, I wanted to have you on and even introduce you. That's how bad of a podcast host I am. I mean, this whole podcast thing, I love listening to podcasts, but me doing it, obviously, it's a new thing. But how do you say your name? Do you say it the Filipino way, Hipolito, or do you say it the American way, Hipolito?
Hipolito. I
Yeah,
say it the
yeah,
American way.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
have the I don't have the accent, but my family says it that way, but you know, they're from the PI and I'm born and raised here, so I'm Americanized.
You look like you're half. You're half, aren't you?
Now I'm
No
full.
way, dude. You
Yeah, hell yeah.
definitely.
You know, people be thinking I'm like Hispanic. Sometimes people think I'm Dominican, like specific Spanish folks. And then when I start talking, like, especially when I'm like, you know, at a taqueria or somewhere where like a lot of Hispanic folks congregate. Like I'm in the mission a lot because a lot of my homies are from there. You know, they be talking all Spanish to us, and I'm just like nodding my head, like, "Oh yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure." Like, and I have no idea what to even say, dude.
Yeah, cause I mean, damn, the Spanish blood is definitely strong in you. Then, like, just going back, in your
Oh, for
ancestry, because
sure.
it definitely shows.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think my grandmother, shout out Nanai, rest in peace. I think she had like maybe like a little bit of Spanish blood, and you know it's crazy because all my cousins kind of like they're a little bit more on the like you know Asian Chinese side of the spectrum of Filipinos,
Yeah.
and I look like I'm like Hispanic from the Negritos, like all that. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, they're like, what the hell happened to this guy? How is he part of the family? Huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Did it?
exactly. You know, it's just like, okay, what's up with you? Like, whose kid are you? And they're like, oh, you're Christina's kid. I'm like, and they say, oh. Well then,
So
okay.
that's funny. So when people, the first time they meet you, they don't necessarily know you're Filipino. Then right off the bat, when they look at you,
No, no, especially when it comes, especially it depends on what my hairstyle is like too. So I'm starting to regrow out my hair again. And when I looked super Filipino when I had it like a three on top and like a fade.
uh-huh.
But as it grows and it gets longer, my hair is actually super like wavy. So
Ah,
I guess that's from the Spanish side too. And then sometimes I like to be disgusting and grow my mustache out over my lip. So it's really like it's like dealer's choice what you want to call me. If they think I'm Spanish, I'll throw out like hey papi, and then they'll know. No, 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 he's Asian for sure.
now I used to honestly, I get the same thing. Like no one ever thinks I'm Filipino, which to me is weird. I look in the mirror and I see a Filipino, but everyone thinks I'm Chinese. Well, the Chinese I get. I do have Chinese blood. I have Spanish blood too, but I get Chinese, I get Korean, I get everything but
Mm.
Filipino.
I can see that a little bit, but when you say your last name, that's when it hits, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no, when they see the last name for sure. I mean, it doesn't get in more like Filipino than Libunao, right? It's
Yeah.
not one of those like Spanish Filipinos, Garcia, or anything like
Hmm.
that, or Mendoza or Villanueva. Yeah,
Navarez.
Navarres. Yeah, because is it? Because when you joined the Zoom meeting right now, that's what I saw. I didn't see Wally Hipolito. I saw Wally Navarez.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually my biological father's last name, and I don't really associate with him, so I go with my mom's family and maiden name.
Oh, I bet that makes your mom really happy, huh?
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, I hope so. I'm not really into kind of changing my name
Legally,
legally,
yeah, yeah.
because I kind of want to keep up the stage name of Wally Hipolito.
Uh-huh.
But like I grew up with the name Wally. Nobody ever called me by my real name, which I won't expose right now. But
Do you hate it
but
that much?
it's not that I hate it. It's
uh,
just if anybody ever once I get big and I hit it big, it's like you got Joe Coy. Like Joe Coy's real name is not Joe Coy. I gotta keep some secrecy, And if anybody ever tries to steal my IDs or steal my IDs online, it's like all right, go ahead. Like
yeah, you
please
know
look
what?
for Wally Hippolito. Like let me know when you find him.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point in terms of identity theft. I definitely see that. But in terms of is that how far out you're thinking already in terms of your goals? With off the stoop. Obviously, I didn't introduce people. You have the podcast off the stoop. Are you thinking that big already?
Well, that's it. It wasn't my goal, but it was my intention. Or it is
Huh.
my intention,
That's interesting.
and yeah, so and I'm just learning this now. Like now that you really like kind of asked me, my goal was to always be in entertainment. And I actually did stand-up comedy when I was 18.
No
I only did
way.
one, yeah, I only did one show. I bombed it, I was shit, but I didn't really think anything of it or think that I really loved it until because I bombed so hard and I just thought, okay, I'm in college anyways. Like I'm good. Like I don't need this. I don't need to look stupid. But fast forward. Plus when you're 18, you don't have interesting stories. Like if you really look back on yourself and think if you have an interesting story to like joke about, like you have to be like one of the greats. And my story as a kid wasn't that great where I can like pick and pull. But now that I'm 30, it's like, the podcast and, comedy and talking to other people is just something that I love to do. So I actually graduated from SF State with a degree in journalism and history. So I'm like a natural writer, reader, and, storyteller. And, I actually tore my knee up when like my senior year trying to go to the Philippines and play basketball.
Ah.
And then 8 or 9 months I couldn't walk at all. And it just kind of changed my whole trajectory and the way I thought about life and things that I wanted to do. So after I healed up, I thought I needed to get away because I was in my room for like 8 or 9 months. And I actually moved to Hawaii to become a chef. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, being on the island, it allowed me to lose all that weight because I didn't take a car. I walked everywhere, I biked everywhere. I ate natural fruits and just kind of like tried to heal in my own way in regard without even realizing that I was looking to heal. I thought I was just looking to get away.
Listen, let me ask you, because I was a big time baller back in my day too, and like no one even. How tall are you?
5'6".
Yeah, yeah, but so
It's
then,
only PBA,
yeah, I
baby.
know that's
Only
but that's
PBA.
the thing. Like no one even like I'm 5'9", right? And like growing
Hmm.
up, no one ever told me I could go to the Philippines and play ball professionally at my height. So like I just gave it up. I didn't even know that was an option. I wish I did because I loved basketball that much. I would have been happy to be playing in the PBA and like do what you
Hmm.
try to do. But when you got injured and you went to Hawaii, did you just immediately know right away that okay, the basketball part of my life is done? Or were you able to move on from it that easily?
You know what? I I didn't. It was a hard time transitioning out of it. So when I got out there, my rehab was done and I was good. But I went there and I made a couple friends and we would go hoop on base because there's a couple bases out there, right? So they would be on base and we would hoop on Saturday mornings. And my dream of going to play had died, which I kind of which I kind of accepted after maybe like month 4 or 5 when I was just like really bending my knee again. But when I got out there, I just really wanted to get on the court because I still love the game. It's just I have to think about it in a new way where I'm not necessarily going out to get paid. I just want to go out there, have a good time, and like enjoy playing the game. And it's funny that you bring up like the PBA and how you didn't know, dude. Like it wasn't until maybe my junior senior year of college when I was at state that I even thought or was given the idea of going overseas because I wasn't playing at SF State. I was literally just like at the Rex. Like
Yeah, yeah. Play
I
just
was at
playing
the
pickup
Rex.
games
I was
everywhere. Yeah.
pickup games, and then I was playing in all the leagues, all like the top adult leagues, and people were just telling me like, dude, you should go out there. Like, you may not be a superstar, which is like, okay, fuck you, but
I don't want a thing to say.
but they're like, you can just be there. You could be like the eighth, ninth, 10th man and get paid. Maybe you could start something out there. And I was just like, you know what? That's not a bad dream to have.
No, it's
But
not, man. It's not a bad life.
no, no, not at all. And when you're a hoop, like when you're a hooper in the PI, it doesn't matter how big or small you are. If you have personality and hoop, people are like gravitated
Dude,
towards you.
especially if you're coming from the States too, man, and you look the way you do with that Spanish heritage really showing itself. Oh man, you would have been a superstar.
Oh man, I really think I would have been that one. I think I would have been Gary Trent Jr. of the whatever PBA. Was it Gary Trent Jr.? No, no, some dude on the Blazers. He would always do the dance with Damian Lillard, Fizz. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No,
He would
no.
always do this.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude. Not too many people, refer to Gary Trent Jr. It's not exactly on the tip of everyone's tongues.
Oh, dude, like I said, I haven't watched too much basketball this year because the Lakers, like, they're kind of boring to watch, but I still love my hoops. Like, whether it's just being a casual or not, like, I still love the game at the end of the day.
Also,
But most of all, I love college hoops. I think, like,
did they even play this year? Because I thought their season was canceled.
no, dude. So last night, actually, UCLA made the final made the final four, and I think Gonzaga made the final four. University of Houston and I think USC. No, no, no. I don't know, but they're in the final four, and and they're playing this Friday or Saturday. And national championship is next. It's weird right now, dude. Obviously because of COVID. Like you usually don't have games on Mondays and Tuesdays. It's usually like packed. But since they're literally at one court and not at different regions across the country, they just like pack it into 5 days of games and then a couple of days off and then back on and then back to regular schedule by like this weekend.
So, what do you? Is I hear that every now and then where someone loves, NCAA college hoops over the NBA, and they always say it because they just feel like it's more pure, it's more of a team game. Is that why you like it more?
Well, let me say this. they're not as good,
Yeah, that's why like
obviously.
I used to love college ball, but ever since they started being one and done or going straight from high school, it's like, man, the level is not what it used to be.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And it's for me, it's just the factor of playing hard. Maybe the one and done isn't playing hard that night, but the rest of the team is going to pick up that slack. They're trying to get that W. Whereas in the NBA, 3 and 4 nights, and I'm sure you've heard this, like 3 and 4 nights, 4 and 5, people are, the whole team can take off that night and just say, fuck it. Like, we got Orlando tomorrow, or we got Golden State today. We got to fly to Orlando tomorrow, and then Miami the night after that. Like, let's just take the night off with Golden State. Like, I mean, we're here in San Francisco. Let's go. Let's go to the wharf or something and get
Uh,
some nuts. Like, it's just there's many factors where players don't have to play hard every night, especially because they're paid. And I just love the fact that college hoops, and I hope when it returns, like big crowds and just that energy, like comes back with it.
okay, now tell me the truth now. Are you into the WNBA? Can you get into that at all? So
I've
that
tried.
says it all. I know. I tried too, man.
I've
I
tried,
tried
and
hard, dude.
but it's weird. It's a lot like the NBA for me, but except like the women play so much harder than the men. I like women's college basketball actually. Like I really like it. I don't know the players too much, but when it's on, I'm like, oh damn, okay. Like let me see UConn, let me see Baylor, let me see Stanford when they're good, UCLA, and of course I'm not gonna look over every team like top 25, but when it's on ESPN, I'm like, okay, I'll stay a while and watch. Like, and I enjoy the shit out of it.
There's this interesting. You're able to enjoy the college game. I don't know, man. For me, I could just never get into it. It's like when they show like the highlights for this WNBA or college, it's like, oh, and here's a layup. I was like, oh.
Wait, you're talking about NBA or WNBA or college?
It's actually both. I thought, to be perfectly honest, I don't really see a lot of the college highlights anymore. I pretty much just stick to the NBA. But yeah, it's like, anytime you see a highlight reel from a WNBA team, here's a layup. Oh my
Yeah.
lord, that was amazing.
I'll definitely give it that. But my appeal to college is that with the NBA, everybody can do everything. And that's kind of like what you have to be now. But in college, you still have those roles and you still see all the players and pieces kind of moving together or
Ah,
not moving together. Where like the big man is not every big man is trying to chuck up threes. Sometimes he's fucking terrible and you just want him to rebound an outlet. And you could see that within the game. And like maybe the small forward is the primary scorer, but the coach isn't asking him to be like the main ball distributor or ball handler like a Giannis or a LeBron or them. So I just like the fact that there are still roles and it's not just like one ubiquitous game and where they're just like ebbs and flows.
yeah, you know what? That's a good point. I can appreciate that then, because you can definitely still see the strategy and the systems that take
Yeah,
place, right? Kind
yeah,
of like almost the chess match of it all in terms of
exactly.
strategy. Whereas, like you said, the NBA has pretty much become positionless at this point, right?
Hmm. Yeah. So let me ask you, do you catch games all the time still for the NBA?
I don't, because I haven't had cable TV in a long ass time now. So pretty much I'm just relegated to watching highlights on YouTube. And the highlights they show on YouTube, it's pretty much they just show every score, every basket that's
Hmm.
made, right? But a friend of mine once told me, he made a good point. He said he didn't like watching those YouTube highlights because you don't really get like the flow of the game, or like the tension that comes over. So like
Mm,
if you watch it on ESPN, right, you kind of get the drama of that happens throughout the game,
yeah,
the comebacks and everything like that. But when you're just seeing like every basket that's made, you don't really get that. But you're just like, well, beggars can't be choosers. Yeah, I was like, that's all I've
true,
got
true.
access to. Do you keep up much?
No, I'm actually like you. I watch the highlights, and that's only because I feel like the game is just so like relegated to just get down the court and like isolate now, where it doesn't really, for me, it doesn't really matter what they're doing in the half court because how often, and this is why I love college hoops too. How often in the NBA are they gonna set a trap? And a professional basketball player is not gonna like stay calm and just like pass out of it.
Hmm.
You know, there's just so many things like so many little things like that where I'm just like, I really don't like this part of the game where, if you trap some kid in college or you trap a big man, like that kid is like his eyes are wide. He's like, what am I gonna do right now? And I think for me, that's like way more exciting. Like you could be terrible, like the team could be like bad, but it's just like I feel like the purity of the game, like you said earlier, the purity is there still.
That's interesting. I've never heard it described that way before, but that's a good point. I guess when you get to the NBA level, they're almost too good. It's like nothing phases them, right? It's like they've got an
Yeah,
answer for everything. It's like, come on, hey, where's the tension at then, right? Where are the
exactly.
stakes?
Like of course, you're not gonna make it. No, nobody's gonna shoot 100% all game, right? But it's like, what else between the game aside from like the 50 dribbles that you take is going to excite me? And for me, there's not a lot of that, except my one caveat to that is I'm not even a Warriors fan, but I love watching the Warriors. I'm a Lakers fan,
How did that
but I
happen?
love
You grew up in the city, right?
Kobe, baby, RIP. No, Kobe and Shaq were like my duo. It was like 2000s, the
Yeah,
first run
yeah.
that they had, and then I just got hooked on winning, and I just saw the Warriors, and I was just like, yeah, y'all not that good.
No, the Warriors are fucking garbage for so long,
hmm
but I still
Like,
love them, man.
no, they had some dope teams, and maybe that might be a little bit of Bay Area bias, but they've always had dope teams that were entertaining to watch. Like, of course, everybody's gonna talk about the We Believe years, and for me, I was a Steph Curry fan in college, so I
Ah, so
had
you
been
went back in
watching
his
him.
Davidson days.
Yeah, dude. So I was like, when he was like starting to break out, I was like, oh my God, like you guys got to watch this Steph Curry guy. Cause I was watching him in his conference tournament. I was like, you got to watch him. He just dropped like 35 points and he was small like me and he was chucking up from like outside the gym. And I was like, you got to watch him. He's good. He's good. And then everybody got introduced to him in the tourney. And I was just like, oh my God, him and Derrick Rose are probably like two of my top like 3 or 4 players of all time. When I saw Derrick Rose's highlights in high school, and then I saw Steph Curry play in college, I was like, these guys are the one. So when fast forward a little bit, when Steph came to the Warriors, I was like, damn, that's sick, but that's kind of stupid because they already had Jamal Crawford at the time.
And they had Monte Ellis too,
And oh yeah,
right?
of course he had Monte. But for me, I thought, okay, maybe Steph can come off the bench. But yeah, they had Jamal Crawford and Getty and Monte. And yeah, I just thought to myself, Steph's gonna be good, but he's not gonna be like a great player. But lo and behold, like 10 years later, I was like, oh my God.
I know. But even in his rookie year, right? I mean, I remember post All Star break, that's when he really kind of started getting into his comfort zone and he was just lighting the
hmm
league on fire as a rookie.
Yeah,
And
dude.
then obviously, I mean, with him and Monte, that was kind of the tough thing, right? Because they essentially were the same position. But I remember we're geeking out on them. We've been geeking out on basketball for a while now, but it's fine. Like I said, I just like to go with the flow. But I remember when I found out that they traded Monte, like everyone else, I was fucking pissed. It's like, what? He's
Yeah.
the only one that's playing well. You got to trade that guy away? That's crazy. But it's amazing. They had that vision. They knew that Steph was their future, and in order to let him flourish and really grow, they had to get rid of Monte. And it's like it's pretty amazing because, like for guys like you and me, we're short. Steph is kind of the ideal, right? He's not athletic at all, but look at the way he just fucking dominates.
Yeah. It's honestly amazing. He's like, of course, everybody says he's a pioneer, but he's like a literal culture changer. Like there's Lake Up, there's Myers, there's Steve Kerr, but like he literally changed the culture of what the Warriors were. And fun, like quick little story. I remember I went to go watch the Warriors play in Oakland. This was probably like 2010, 2011. No, no, no. This was like '09. Was it '09? Yeah, maybe it might have been '09. Steph was still wearing hyper dunks, and I waited outside and I was like, "Yo, Steph, you didn't even play today. Let me throw me your hyper dunks." And he looked at me, or he looked out into the crowd, and he was just like, "Did he walk away?"
Oh, that's hilarious. Have you picked up one of his Under Armour shoes? A pair of those?
Yeah, I think I picked up the Curry
How are
twos.
they?
They're for me they were amazing because I was like super narrow feet, so I can tie like when I tighten it up, it's not too bad. But they were comfy as shit. I actually kind of want to look. I might have to buy a new pair of Currys because I want to start hooping again when the world opens back up.
So you before COVID, were you still playing every now and then?
Um, no, the last time I had played in a gym or anywhere was I did play in November actually, but prior to that, I hadn't played the entire year of 2020. And then just maybe I think it was just yesterday I went to go outside with one of my homies and just do kind of some ladder drills and to shoot around a little bit just to like enjoy the sun. What about you? Have you played at all?
No, I gave that up years ago because it like the way I was, even though like I'd given up all like dreams of playing professionally, but I would still train like I was trying to get to that. I would still
Yeah.
like do drills and everything and really practice hard. And then like one day I was doing that. And I was just like wondering like what the fuck am I doing to myself? Why am I like going this so damn hard like this?
Dude. No, no, go
No,
sorry, go
no, no,
ahead.
go for it. That's fine, man.
That's hella funny because I was the exact same way when I started to hoop again. So yesterday while I was doing drills, it was maybe like a 20, 30 minute workout. I didn't want to go too hard because like it's just, like my body isn't used to it. Like I do ladders and stuff just to kind of keep my like joints and things intact, just to keep them strong. But my boy, he was trying to go for like a 45, 50 minute workout. It was probably like minute 20, 25. I was like, dude, I'm done. He's like, are you serious, bro? Let's get this working. I was like, dude, I'm not trying to play anymore.
Ye-
Like, I don't care,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Like, and that's definitely the hardest part. Like, I'm right there with you. It's the hardest part because you could, but it's like, do you really have the time to try and do that all the time? Like,
Yeah, what's
you're
the
not gonna
point, right? It's like you could be
exactly.
pursuing something else with that energy.
Exactly. And that's like 3 hours,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
especially when you play in a Sunday league or something. Like you're gonna get there one game before or half of the game before just to check out the game and warm up and be at the gym. You got the game, and then you stay a little while and just kick it and talk to people. And it's like that's like a whole Sunday already. And I was just like, I'm done. Like I'm good. I'll just enjoy the game and play a little bit now. Like I don't care if I suck.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So that's kind of like what stopped it for me when I realized that. And now, I guess fast forward is, because I've done a lot of martial arts in my time too, and just like
Mm.
I'm sure yeah, you were a hooper, right? So you fucking did a lot of plyometrics and heavy leg workouts, just trying to dunk every
Yeah.
stern, right? So it kind of like it did a lot of damage to my joints. I didn't really know anything about growing up. I mean, you don't really think much about recovery or longevity or
Hmm.
mobility, right? So yeah, so my knee is kind of has been messed up for like the last 4 or 5 years, and I had an MRI done, and they said, "Oh, you don't have any cartilage in your right knee anymore. You have the knee of a 55-year-old." So okay, no,
Jeez.
that explains it. So I'm really, it's kind of weird, when you grow up, you feel like a physical god. You're invincible, right? And now, like, I may not look 40, but trust me, dude, I feel it in terms of the
You're feeling
joints.
it.
Yeah, like I can't, like basketball is just no longer an option for me
Dude,
anymore.
I took a test, right, to like find out how old my legs were. And they told me this was like when I was 24, 25. They told me my legs were like 60.
Yeah, because it's basketball, dude. It's so intense, and then the training you do for basketball, right? It's like
Yeah. Yeah. And also I used to box too. And then I
ah,
did a little bit of Muay Thai just to kind of
yeah.
keep my cardio up. And like for a minute I had like dreams of being like US Manny Pacquiao, but obviously like that didn't work out. But yeah, man, when they told me that my legs were that old, I was like, oh shit, like I should probably stop.
Yeah, yeah, no. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like you have a very similar story to me because I was heavy into Muay Thai. Yeah, that was my thing. And yeah, and that's exactly it. That's why my right knee's messed up. So like you're only 30 right now, so you still got time to really, to control a lot of that
Yeah.
damage. Start taking, glucosamine and turmeric for your joints long term. I mean, start getting into yoga and all that because I only got into yoga the past 2 years, and that's helped a lot.
Hmm.
That's kind of become like my new. I came to Jesus about yoga, because
Are you doing yoga like online on YouTube, like taking up those
you
classes,
know
or do you actually go to a studio and have
I
like?
used to go to a studio. This is before the COVID days. Because yeah, I definitely I feel like when you start something like that out, it really helps to have an instructor right there in front of you. There's kind of no substitute that way they can actually correct you. And but when COVID hit, all that stopped, obviously. And
Mhm.
then even before COVID hit, because now me and my wife we split our time between the Philippines and the States.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so my wife has a nonprofit in the Philippines that she started, and that's actually I mean kind of truncate my story here, but that's why I left my job at the media agencies because it just seemed foolish for me to be using my video skills for this media agency when I can be using it for my wife's nonprofit and for myself, and will benefit from it, right? Yeah,
Nice.
so we started splitting time between the Philippines and the States a little bit more than a year ago. So when I went over to the Philippines, I kind of stopped going to classes because in the Philippines, I don't know how much time you spent there, but over there, like anyone can teach anything. There's no like certification or anything like that.
Really?
Yeah, so you find a lot of, there's a lot of classes and instructors that are honestly just not that good.
So,
It's hard to find a good place, to trade. So I just kept it up on my own.
but that's kind of like the PI in a
Yeah,
nutshell,
yeah,
right?
essentially,
They
yeah.
like they like love America so much. You can come in with all your BS and all that. If they see a degree or they see you have a great resume, they're like, come teach our class, show us what the American style is like. Like, come here and be like, help us be you.
You know what? That's definitely a factor because I spent 7 years in my 20s in the Philippines by myself, and definitely my American accent that was like a golden ticket to any opportunity you could think of. But it's not even just that. Honestly, just like anyone can teach anything, even if you're a local in the Philippines. Like
Oh,
for some
really?
reason, like certification and teacher training, that's just something that you know, doesn't pop up in the minds of a Filipino in terms of teaching. Like in college, I finished my bachelor's over there.
Hmm.
College professors, all you really need is if you finish your bachelor's degree in that particular subject, then you're fine. You could be a teacher. You can be pursuing your master's at that same university, but you don't need any sort of teacher training at all. Whereas
Really?
over here in the States, you need to go specifically, teacher certification course, right, and teacher
Yeah.
training. But that's not that way in the Philippines, and that applies to any sort of like course you can think of, whether it's personal training, martial arts instructor, yoga. So, for instance, when we were there in the Philippines, I tried out a yoga class at this gym, and this woman was just awful, and I felt bad for her students. Like her poses were horrible. And then she saw me because I've been training at like a legit yoga place here in the States, and my poses
Uh-huh.
were definitely better. Then she started spouting at this bullshit. Yeah, in our style, the poses don't really matter. It's like that's complete horseshit, man. If they didn't matter, there wouldn't be poses to begin with. It's like, yeah, so it's like okay, I'm just gonna continue the yoga on my own, and I've kind of, and then COVID hit, and so I've kind of just been doing that, and then I've grown to like it because when I was going to the studio, I learned enough of the basics that I could for now I can just run with it, and for me it's really just for my overall mobility and health for my knee because
Yeah. Just maintenance.
before yoga, I couldn't extend my leg anymore. Like the pain was just too much. I'd
Shit.
move it maybe like 2 inches, and the pain would be
Damn.
unbearable. Yeah, so I
Mhm.
couldn't run, I couldn't jump, I couldn't do anything. But after about, I say no, I would know. It's probably more like 8 months of yoga. I was able to extend it without any pain. I was able to run
Nice.
again, and that's because with yoga, you're able to. Man, I'm really starting to sound like I'm sponsored by some sort of yoga studio, but
Shout out Bikram
I know,
Yoga
I
at
know, I know.
Seacliff.
But this is why I came to Jesus about yoga, is because before 3 years, I hadn't been able to do anything with my leg, and I couldn't extend it. But after 8 months of yoga, I could extend it completely pain free. I could put weight out on it again. I could run on it. again. And that's because with yoga, you're able to strengthen all the supporting muscles and the stabilizing
Mm-hmm.
muscles. And if it hurts, then you're able to just, modify the position.
Yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
there's no impact. You're not jumping or anything. So it's like, oh, this is my shit now. This is my thing. It's called me
Yeah,
yoga
no.
Mike, namaste. It's like, yeah. It's like
I feel that though. Now I'm on the same boat, bro. I do want to join a yoga studio, but they're just so damn
they
expensive in the
are.
city.
They are,
And
man.
and I don't understand it. Like I know in SoCal, you get great yoga instructors for like $30 a month because there are so many and they're like trying to compete, right? But here in the city, like it's like $300 for some rinky dink shit on Ocean. I don't want to like put
Too late.
but yeah, it's just like that kind of spot where like there's no towels, like they're not, it stinks and it's just not a great environment. So I'm like, I actually do yoga in the morning and at night, just like the YouTube ones, just to get a really good stretch in to start my day and kind of center myself. But yeah, like if I can find a really good yoga spot, that's your opportunity to sponsor me. I would definitely start going once the world opens back up.
Hey, speaking of sponsorship, because I was listening to your latest episode and I thought I heard you got a sponsor on your podcast, right? Dude,
Yeah.
congratulations. That's a milestone right there in the podcast game.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It was kind of crazy actually. It's a Feel Good Edibles. It's a CBD company out in New York though, not even from the
Yeah, how did
city.
this happen?
So I was actually looking for just like social media work and things like that because I work in social media. Um, Yeah, and I was just looking on Craigslist, honestly, just kind of funneling through, trying to see what I can get remotely. And I reached out to them. I kind of pitched like my show, and we're not big, but like just like you guys, we're kind of growing, so let's grow together. And they were like, "All right, let's do it."
Oh, so you made
And
it happen. That's awesome.
yeah, I'm trying to I I'm trying to be more assertive in my line of work and what I want to do because I find myself going hard for like other people's stuff, but when it comes to mine, I kind of just blow it off and I'm like, okay, like I'll just chill for now, but like I'm trying to get into that mindset where I got to start going fucking hard for myself too.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I'm a filmmaker and videographer, and when you're studying it, that's something they never really talk to you about, right? And which is, I guess, it's understandable, because at that point they're just trying to teach you the skills of the craft itself, right?
Mhm.
But like, honestly, like I've been doing it to 8 years, and to me, like what I learned the hard way, like quality of work, is probably the least significant factor in terms of success. It's really just it's just more important. It's like what you did about getting that sponsor. Honestly, it's just reaching out to people and trying to create those
Mhm.
opportunities for yourself. And obviously, the whole network game. Who sees your work is more important than how good your work is. To
Yeah.
be perfectly honest, and that's always been my Achilles heel. So it's like I'm just not a networky, kind of guy,
Yeah.
and relationships have kind of always been, my
I just stay to
kryptonite.
your circle and things like just like
Yeah,
being
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
close.
I've never been, yeah, I guess, just relationships in general, forming them, maintaining them. I mean, I don't know how I've been with my wife for like 15, 16 years. It's totally not me. I don't know how that happened, but
That means you got it right, man. I think honestly I think it might be a cultural thing. It might be a Filipino trait. Especially in your line of work and I guess my line of work too, where there are many Filipino faces in what we do, or at least in filmmakers, not ones that are like, where we can kind of hold up and be like, okay, this is me. Or he or she represents me. And do you ever feel like just like people aren't noticing you or you don't put yourself out there so people can't notice you and you just kind of like scope by?
I think I mean, it's definitely more so being comfortable with putting yourself out there, right? So, like for instance, what you did when you reached out to that edible company, that's really like kind of putting yourself out there and really just kind of accepting that you have value too, right? And that's something that I had to learn over the years. But like, the idea of just reaching out to someone like that, it kind of like gives me like the heebie-jeebies, like, oh, I feel so vulnerable, I'm asking them if they'd be interested in this. It's almost like asking a girl to dance when you're young. Like you're like, feel like you're 12, 13 years old. Oh, what if they say no? I mean, I've gotten over that, obviously, at this moment of some grown man. So, but, it's definitely just that putting yourself out there, not being embarrassed to put yourself out there. As far as, not seeing a representation of me, like seeing another Filipino filmmaker or whatever. I never really cared about that, to be perfectly honest. I guess, and I might get a lot of hate for saying this, but I've just never been about I guess what they would call identity politics. In the beginning, it's never been about, oh, you know what, I'm a Filipino filmmaker, I'm a Filipino this, Filipino that. No, I just want to be defined by my work. Who cares if I'm Filipino or not, whether I'm a guy or not? That shit doesn't matter. It's just the work should speak for itself. But obviously, that's not really reality because, like I said, quality of work, from what I learned, doing it for 8 years, it's the least significant, factor. Oh, dude, you know what? Your mic, for some reason, you want mic.
Hello?
Yeah, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
My
hear you
bad.
now.
I don't want to cough. I turn it off when I
You
cough.
can cough, man. Or
Because I got an ugly ass cough.
Yeah, I heard on your podcast you were like really sick. You were saying.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's gross. But
Okay, so it wasn't COVID related.
no, it wasn't COVID. Oh man, I was that week. Was it just a couple weeks ago? Right? No, so my cousin had actually just come into town, and they were staying in Pacifica, and it was like that week where it was like super windy all day, and we went on a hike right by the beach, and like water and that salt water was just spraying in my face. I wore a thin ass sweater with a no sleeve shirt under, so I was just like feeling it from everywhere. We went on like a 5 mile hike up the mountain and then back down, so it was like 10 miles, and I got home and I was just like dead.
Yeah, that'll do it.
But no, back to what you're saying. I completely feel you on the like identity politics thing, and for me, I do want my quality of work to like outshine, or putting myself out there. But I also kind of just like want to let people know that like, hey, like we are out here, And for me, it's like more of a resource thing, and I'm saying that because Filipinos are like super not underrepresented, super under resourced community. We have like 4 million people here, and like 1 million are like undocumented, so they see a lot of shit, so they go through a lot. So like, kind of, especially with the kind of people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis. Like I just had this conversation with this dude yesterday named Joe. He's from like Illinois. He had never heard of a Filipino before, but he's like, how do I not know you? And you guys are like one of the biggest Asian American groups in the country. I'm like, bro, because nobody knows us.
That's funny, yeah, because like Midwest, they have no idea what a Filipino is. I remember I had a buddy who, God, how do I tell this without throwing him under the bus?
just don't put his name, dude. Don't say his name.
But essentially, the only way this guy could get girls back in the day was online, right? And a lot of and he had a thing for white chicks, so he was chatting up these girls online in the Midwest. And when he
Chat roulette?
No, this is before the days of chat roulette, dude. This is straight up AIM, dude. I don't know if you're old enough to remember AIM, yeah. But I remember
hey, add me. Your boy's a pimp.
So when he would be chatting up these girls in like Michigan, and he'd say he's Filipino, yeah, they're always like, well, what's that? They've never even heard of it. Right. And I think he just told them, it just means something like tall, dark, and handsome, really exotic. But I think, the thing is, like, because, there's definitely, yeah, you can find Filipinos everywhere. That's true. You know, and basically labor is the Philippines' number one export, right? That's what they call the OFWs.
Yeah.
But I also feel a part of that. Filipinos being invisible is Filipinos are just highly adaptable, right? They are like highly adaptable and highly they assimilate very
Yeah.
easily, right? They almost like want to assimilate. For instance, like I was born in the Philippines and I came over here to the States when I was 6 or 7. And
Hmm.
immediately your family just wants you to be American. They view that as, it's almost like a
Yeah.
status symbol, right? That's why a lot of, Filipino Americans like yourself who are born and raised in the States, you guys don't speak Tagalog because your parents don't want you to. They want you to be American,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like, obviously, I have no data to back this up, but I just feel like part of it also is just Filipinos just want to assimilate whatever that local culture is too, right? They 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 want you to be American more than anything. Of course, when you get older, I'm sure your mom will give you shit. Oh, you don't speak Tagalog. Yeah, no, no, no.
Oh my
Yeah, it's like,
God.
hey, maybe
Yeah.
you should have fucking raised me to speak Tagalog then, right? It's like, you expect me to just learn that on my own? It's like,
I'll give it to this. I'll give this to my mom. She did teach me Tagalog, and I did know like I was fluent up until like 6 or 7 years old. But to your point, like that's when you start school, and it just kind of fades out, especially in the city where you have like a bunch of friends from different cultures. You're not gonna speak Tagalog to like this Hispanic kid. Well, he might know what you say
yeah,
actually,
yeah, there's a
but
lot of
like for the
similar
most
terms.
part, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah. For the most part, it's like nah, we're learning English here, y'all. Like we're gonna learn some proper English.
Yeah, so I mean, that's so like getting back to what we're talking about. Yes, there definitely is a lot of Filipinos, and there definitely is underrepresentation. But I feel like it's not also because they're not being represented, but I just also feel that like for instance, Filipinos is basically they were very similar to Black people because we're pretty much considered a natural part of the hip hop culture, right? Hip hop culture and basketball culture. You're Filipino, you grew up in the Bay Area, that's your thing, right?
Hmm.
So it's like we just easily, like I said, we just become part of the local culture more so than standing out on their own as Filipinos. But that being said, I do feel like shows, any sort of medical show, whether it's House, going back to ER, there's no Filipino nurses. Come on, man. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, that's so
At least
ridiculous. Yeah, at
one
least one.
brown
Yeah,
person,
yeah, right.
right?
There's got, but I mean, if we're talking about Hollywood too, like, it's not just Filipinos. Obviously, there's lots of,
Yeah.
people that are underrepresented.
That's the big thing right now, right? I think like the biggest Filipino actor I know of to date is that this dude that was in
You don't
Crazy
even know
Rich
his name.
Asians.
It's like
I
this
don't I
dude.
don't I don't know, and that's and that's my fault. And the dude who's Peter Parker's best friend in the new
Oh
Spider-Man
yeah,
series,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So he's Filipino. See, I don't even know their names,
yeah.
but I'm with you though I'm with you to an extent where it has to be about the work or it has to be about the people right? Like I'm not gonna ask somebody to put me up at a comedy club for 10, 15 minutes because I'm like, oh my God, I'm Filipino. Like I'm representing, like I'm not gonna do that. Like I want my work to show that, hey, like I've been putting in my time, like I'm solid, like I'm good. And even with the podcast, like you can trust me and I'll be good. I'm a good product. I'm a good brand. But a lot of times I feel like what you're saying, it gets convoluted in like, oh, there's just no representation. Like you're not trying to Hollywood's trying to, well, maybe in other more prominent like roles, but like you're trying to keep us down. And it's like, nah, dude, you might just suck. Like some people just can't accept that they suck
Yeah.
sometimes. Like, and I'm not, yeah, I'm not one to like stay super PC, but like if you fucking suck, you have to know you suck. Like, I know I'm fucking terrible at art. I know I can't draw. I know I can't, I can't paint, can't do none of that. I try it, but I'm not gonna like beat myself up and try to like blame somebody else because I suck at it. No, I just kind of pivot and do what I'm good at. And if I want to paint again, I'm gonna do it. And I might keep sucking, I might get better, but I'm not gonna blame anybody for that.
You mentioned like going up to like a comedy show. Is that something you still like mess around with or still kind of fantasize about? Is going back and doing some more stand up again?
Oh yeah, for sure. I have a lot more story now.
Yeah.
Those
Oh yeah,
12
you
years
lived a
since.
lot of life since then, right?
I've been living a lot of lives, and I'm actually like in these like Facebook groups. I hate saying that I'm in Facebook groups, but
Why? There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't know, it just ages me a little bit more.
Yeah, I guess the thing now is what's that? Clubhouse. There you go. That exclusive
Oh
owner.
yeah.
That's the place to be now, right?
Oh yeah, Clubhouse is cool, but I'm not gonna give out my jokes or anything to people online. Like, what the fuck? No, I go onto Facebook because they have like these Bay Area like comedy networks and things, and some people get together even during COVID, like social distancing. They go up or they talk or have Zoom meetings where like you could kind of like write down and brainstorm your bit
Oh, so
together,
you're
which
kind of
is
working
pretty
out your
fucking.
material essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been pretty cool so far. I've only done it like two or three times because I really just decided that I want like this is what I want to do during COVID. And yeah, it's been pretty dope, honestly. I'm having a good time doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Because at least you've tried it. That's something me and my buddy have always talked about is doing an open mic one night and eating shit because we know we're gonna eat shit,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
everyone
yeah,
does.
yeah. There's no way you're gonna go up and just fucking kill and slaughter your first time trying. But we've just never had the guts. To be perfectly honest, it's like I don't know if I can stand eating shit. But it's just funny because I used to be a professional stage actor actually, so it's not as if
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's not as if going up on stage is like a frightening thing for me. But there's something about doing stand up and trying to make people laugh. It's different. Especially if it feels, I feel like it hurts a
Yeah.
lot more. It's like, oh, Jesus.
And
It's like, this is my soul. Oh, fuck. It's like,
I've seen people like literally like implode on themselves because I mean, to an extent, you're kind of telling people about your life,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's up to you to make them laugh. And if they don't laugh, it's kind of like reverberated back into you like, oh fuck, maybe my life fucking
Yeah.
sucks. Maybe it's not funny sucks, it just sucks.
Yeah.
So if you're hearing crickets, it's like, oh,
Yeah, the
okay,
rejection just
maybe not.
feels so much more personal, right?
But that's when the work comes in, man.
That's
Like
true.
when you get a job, like it's not the interview, like when you get the job, it doesn't stop at the interview. It keeps going. When you get the job, that's when the work really starts. So like for me, it's I was up on the stage 12 years ago. I got to get up on stage again. So whether I'm received positively or negatively in my mind, it's like, okay, I got the first part done. I did my 5 minutes. Like, let's work on the material. Like, let's come back next week, or let's go to another comedy spot and like hash this out and try to get better.
No, I mean, but because I listen to a lot of podcasts, stand-up comedian podcasts, Joe Rogan Experience, Fitstock Radio, and that's all. That's really what they talking about is just showing up. You're gonna suck. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
eat shit for a long time, but you just keep showing up and you do the work, and eventually you stop eating so much shit. You start getting
Yeah,
better. But oof, man, even just thinking about it kind of gives me, like just trying to.
dude. For me, okay. For me personally, I miss spotlight, and this is probably like a little bit of a narcissistic trait, but I miss like being the center stage. Because that's when you play basketball. That's kind of what you get, right? No matter who you are or whatever. If you're on the court, like people have their eyes on you. And I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of miss that. Not for the notoriety or anything, but just kind of it's a sense of motivation to just do better, if that makes
Ah,
sense.
that's interesting. Well, I mean, like all the stand-ups, and they all have like a similar driving force. As there's got to be something fucked up in you that drives you up onto that stage that wants that kind of attention, right? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's the kind of like the pattern with stand-ups is they all come from some sort of fucked up background. Obviously, it's a scale, it's a sliding scale. There's different levels of fucked up, but everyone doesn't come from a happy family that raised them well and everything and then nurtured
Hmm.
them. There's something darker on the inside that always drives them and that gets you to want to be on that stage. So you want to reveal what that darkness is? Yeah.
Right now? Nah, you're gonna have to wait till I hit the stage again for that. I could, but it might get a little too wild. But
No, man, but I really appreciate and really give you a lot of respect for going up there and trying it. Like I said, that's something me and my buddy have been talking about, for a while. We just haven't gotten around to it because like, where do you even start? How do you even come up with any material at all? You just telling a story, a funny story that you have, and that's it.
No, so for me, like I said, I was a journalism major at State, and I was a history major. And for my first couple bits, I have a lot of shit that I've written, like a lot. Like I have like a couple notebooks lying around here.
Damn. So you've been
Eh,
writing all this time still.
Yeah, I mean, COVID's kind of allowed me to do that, where I got to kind of like channel into myself and like really think like, who are you, dude? Like, what are you doing? And from there I kind of just float. So I'll go into like my Filipino identity, I'll go into my family situation, I'll go into everyday quirks and shit that I see, like conversations I have with people. You really just pick up things from everyday life and you twist it in a way where people can relate, but then they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? So it's kind of like this weird dance. Plus I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts like you, and I watch a lot of stand-up. So like I'm not gonna say I know what people want to hear, but I can see the kind of flow that's in the mind of the comedian. Like I can see like the trajectory of where it's going. So it's pretty cool to see
So
that.
you've sounds like you've actually been dissecting it a lot too, then, right? When you watch now, since you're interested in actually doing it, you kind of been looking at it not just as a casual observer. You're looking at what the craft of it and how they're really doing it.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a lot like they say that comedy is a lot like boxing, which I don't think so at all. I think more than anything, it's a lot like MMA or even like basketball. In my mind, it's a lot like basketball more than anything because you're watching that film, you're watching these guys and seeing like where their stories go and how like they come with the punchline and like how they even like a lot of it has to do with delivery. Like I could say trash or I could say trash, and it might get a different response. So you kind of, yeah, you study those and you study the greats and try to kind of implement not their bits, but how they move about on stage and how they like use their wordplay, which is pretty cool. It's like rapping too, honestly.
Dude, the way you're talking already, it sounds like you're a comic, dude. I think this is something that you're really gonna be doing, man. If you're really going that deeply into it.
I hope so, man. I was actually, I don't want to reveal too much right now, but I was actually supposed to
Go
move
ahead,
to New York.
reveal all as you want, man.
I was supposed to move to New York in May. That's still kind of patent pending. I got to see what happens with like, life and shit happens and things like that. But, one of my dreams was to move to New York and kind of start my comedy career out there. Like I've met a bunch of people. I've talked to like not big comics, but comics with a following where they'll give me like like 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm doing that networking thing like you're talking about, like trying to have people give me a chance to just get the ball rolling. But yeah, like that like we got to wait and see what happens with that. And but as of right now, like I'm trying to do what I can here. So if New York doesn't work out, like I'm here, like I'm gonna make it happen here in the city. I'm gonna make it happen here in the Bay.
Yeah, there's lots of like successful stand-ups that you know what's called earned their stripes there in the city. A lot of big famous ones. And
Oh
then
yeah,
you got Cobbs, and then you got what's that? Said Punchline there and Battery. Yeah, there's a lot. I don't know
yeah,
how many open. I'm sure there's got to be a lot of open mic nights. Well, at least there
yeah.
was before.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure they will when it opens back up. But for me, it's just like the city has become a little bit like way too PC. Like you're not. I'm an asshole at the end of the day. I'm like I'll be the first one to admit that, and that's probably why I really want to go into comedy, just to give myself an excuse to be a dick.
Yeah.
But like there are just certain things where you need to make fun of people, and just know that like it's not there's no ill intent. It's just like we're here to have a good time. Like I was talking about this with one of my boys from New York. We were talking about like how can I say we were talking about like being gay. we're talking about the gay community, you know, and a little backstory. Like, I have my godfather is gay. I have gay cousins. Like, I have no ill intent. I have no ill will towards the gay community, the LGBTQA community. But they're people at the end of the day, and they need to be roasted. Not about being
I like
gay,
the
but
need
just
part of it. They need to be roasted.
they need to be roasted because they're humans like everybody else. And I'm not saying attack them like, oh yeah, not the like cliche shit like, oh, the F word, the F bomb, or like, you like dudes, you like dicks in the butt or whatever. But it's just like, if you craft it, like, it's so hard to craft it, and people are so sensitive these days. It's just like, I got to really think about what I'm gonna say when I'm up at stage in the city and in the Bay Area.
Doesn't that bother you though? Like, you just at you're at the beginning stages, and already you're having to control what you say, like, because stand up's supposed to be kind of a free form expression of these thoughts, and you say it in a way that's just entertaining and comedic, that surprises them. But doesn't that get to you then, that you already have to kind of watch what you say?
Yeah, it fucking sucks because I'm so new in the game still. And I mean, you know what? I'm not even new in the game. I'm still like a college senior trying to get into the league.
Mm-hmm.
And just the fact that I have I don't want to say barriers. I have these like pre what am I trying to say? Predestined position, I guess, to like not say anything and everything that I'm thinking. Whereas a veteran, a lot of crowds are a little bit more lenient on what they say because they kind of know the intent. They kind of know, they feel like they know this person. But with me, it's like I have to walk on eggshells first and then build my name up so people know that, oh, okay, like he doesn't have a problem with these people. He's just letting these people know that like they're fucked up and they're like, they need to get roasted on, like I said.
Okay, but let's play out that scenario then, because I'm curious, because like, I don't do stand up. I haven't tried, but I would almost feel like, since you are just coming up and no one knows who you are, I would almost feel freer to say whatever the fuck I want, because there's like, what would the backlash be? There's no career to cancel.
That's true. I guess for me, I'm looking way too far ahead. I already look at Dave Chappelle. I'm like, damn, he could say fucking anything.
Yeah, but you can't say anything. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you're totally in a position. There's what backlash can they do to you?
You know what? The backlash would be the comedy club doesn't the comedy club asked me to not come back.
Fuck that comedy club. What kind of a comedy club are they then, right?
But then word gets around the city, specifically in the city, like, yo, don't fucking book this guy. He's I don't know, he's a misogynist and he's a fucking dick. And I'm like, yeah, but that's kind of part of the bit.
But then I guess then it would come down to really the style of your delivery then, right? How well you're delivering it.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I kind of, I don't only watch these comics and like listen to their stuff for entertainment, because of course it's entertaining, but like you kind of got to see the delivery and how they portray themselves, where they portray themselves as comics. So they like, they exuberate like funny, like they radiate funny, and people, some people for the most part will understand that this is just their form of expression, and they're not trying to be divisive or anything.
Yeah, I think, because even like the big stand-ups, even like Dave Chappelle, they still get people who heckle and get offended and everything like that, because there's just always, I feel like, especially these days, people, they're so goddamn sensitive, and there's people who are just looking to be offended about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I think so. Even when you do get big, and I have a feeling, honestly, with the way your podcast is going, I don't see why you're not going to get big, man. I think you'll definitely get there. I think there's just, like I said, there's always going to be people offended, but I don't think you can let that stop you, especially at the early stages, from being who you are, and especially just what will be will be. But what the fuck do I know? To be perfectly, like, I'm very like. Because, even like when it comes to like filmmaking, there were people who would ask me like for advice and everything. And then that's kind of just like my answer. Like, well, what the fuck do I know? Like, sure, my work may be good, but look, like my career fucking stalled, like, in the middle. It's like, so what the fuck do I know? Don't listen to me. Just do, because there is almost no set path other
Yeah.
than just like hustling and was sticking with the grind. And obviously the networking thing's a big thing, but there's no like you do this, you do this, you do this, and it's guaranteed you're gonna be success. Yeah, it doesn't work that way,
Yeah.
right? So you might as well just do it the way that's true to yourself. And but
No, no, I think you're completely right about that. And I never thought about it in that way. Like for this comedy thing, for even the podcast, dude, I never thought of it. I never like took, I never took, thought about steps to take. Like with the podcast now, like on a week to week basis, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do or say. I don't know if I'm going to have a guest on. I don't know if I'm going to do like a 15, 20-minute episode by myself. I kind of just like go with the flow. But with comedy, especially with this PC culture, like you're right. Everybody just wants to be offended because it's the popular thing to do now. And it fucking sucks. But I guess you are coming from like, you're probably coming from the right place where I should be thinking like, Dave Chappelle can do this. So he could say this. I mean, I'm not going to go that far yet, but like, I should be able to like free flow and really like think about and really talk about what I want to talk about on stage, right?
yeah, because to me, like at the end of the day, because it comes like it's not just with stand up. It's really like especially like with your podcast, right? Or even what's funny is like even when it comes down to me to like writing a journal. I've tried to write journals multiple times in my life, and maybe I'll keep it up for 2 months at most. I suck at journaling. But I remember one time I was writing, and I caught myself censoring myself in my journal. Right, like what if
Oh,
someone's like, well, what the fuck am I doing? What's the point of this then, right? If I'm not even gonna be honest in the journal, then what's the fucking point? And I just feel like, like with stand up and other things like a podcast, like yeah, that's like, what's the point if you're not gonna be who you really are? If we're gonna be afraid of what people are gonna think, then why even do it, right? Because then ultimately,
mm-hmm.
to me, what's appealing about podcasts and stand up is that's just you being able to be you,
Yeah.
right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
that's what it is. And if you can't do that, then like, oh, what's the point then? Am I doing this just trying to be successful, doing it for the sake of money, which obviously we all want. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, like yeah, we all want to be successful, but whether or not that can be the driving force, I don't know, man. It seems like because when you hear Joe Rogan speak or any of the successful stand-ups speak,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, obviously they want to make a living and they're concerned about the careers, but their driving motive is being true to their art and expressing themselves
Yeah.
completely. That's what drives them. That's what gets them up there, and that's what gets them to continue to work hard at the craft of it.
Yeah. 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 For sure. And you name all those guys, and the biggest thing about them is they're authentic.
Exactly, right?
Like, authentic. I think authenticity will take people far. I mean, not just in comedy, but in life in general. And I'm not gonna say I'm the most authentic person like right now. I'm not fugazi or anything, but like I'm still here at 30 years old trying to learn who I fully am. And that's why I want to get into comedy, because like it's just another facet. It's just another way to kind of express myself, like you said, and be like the real me. And yeah, like when I hit the stage again, I feel like that's gonna be a new level of me where like, oh shit, okay, I can do this. Like I'm good. Like, yeah, I'm excited about it, man. I'm
Why
excited
do
about it.
you say that you feel like you're not completely authentic now?
It's not that I don't think I'm authentic, it's just that I'm not gonna say that I fully know myself. Like I'm about to start, I'm actually gonna start taking therapy, so that's gonna be some fun material. Um yeah, and there are things in me that I don't know myself about. And I do want to explore it. And while I learn about more, and whatever traumas and shit that I deal with, like that shit eventually is probably going to come out into my bits. So yeah, like I don't think that I'm fake or trying to portray anything, but I just know I don't completely know myself. So maybe not authentic is like the wrong word.
Yeah, because it definitely seems like just from the little bit that I know of you, you definitely seem to be authentic. I mean, not knowing yourself completely. I mean, who can say they really do know themselves completely, right? I will say this: as you get older, what the things that you like and don't like definitely become clearer. And
Mm,
in terms of, not wasting your time on things that you don't like, that becomes a clearer decision too.
yeah. Yeah, no, hell yeah. I want to like backtrack a little bit to the basketball
Yeah,
thing
yeah, yeah.
earlier.
Go for it.
It's one of those where like, yeah, like you said earlier, like you just don't want to waste your time on this shit anymore. Like it doesn't interest you like that. And I don't like pin myself or blame myself for not completely knowing who I am. That's like a whole nother story. But I just like I said, I just know that there's more shit in me that I still have to discover. And I'm completely interested in like finding out what it
So
is.
what's driving this, this desire to really dive into yourself and figure things out like that?
No, age. A lot of my favorite people, a lot of the like, not even just comics that I follow, a lot of, I don't want to call it personalities that I follow. They preach a lot about knowing yourself and, you know, f- discovering yourself and self love and self care and shit like that. And I kind of just take it and run with it. Like one of my favorite people who's not a comic is Charlemagne the God, and he says some wild ass shit all the time. But he comes from an authentic place. Like he's not trying to do this for a money grab or anything. Like he's literally saying wild shit because that's what he feels, that's what he's thinking at the time. So he's not going to censor himself. And he's always preaching about, self healing, like trying to get over your demons and shit like that. So I'm 30 right now, so I just want to know who I was at like 20 because I mean, I know what I was doing in my 20s, but I don't know if the self-discovery or any of those factors were there.
I'm sure it felt like it was there because, when we're in our 20s, we feel like we know every single thing in the world, right?
Dude, all I know is I was going to Manor West every fucking Friday and then going and then what other clubs are there? Fuck, I forget the other
Well,
ones.
okay,
All
you,
I
you
know
were
is I was
living in the
going to
city,
clubs.
right? So it's like,
Yeah.
come on, what else are you gonna do? Of course,
Right.
that's the whole point of living there.
Exactly, exactly. Like I'm gonna say I didn't know myself in my 20s because I was like drunk or like at a music festival or at the club. So knowing myself at that time was like that was like
Yeah, but that's like, to me, that's you did the right thing, though, right? Because that's what your 20 should be about. Yeah, that's what
oh
you
for
got you got
sure.
to go out and live life, right? And as you get older, that's when all like the wisdom and the deeper diving can come in. But it's like, you make your mistakes in those 20s, and
Oh no, those weren't
yeah, yeah,
mistakes.
yeah, yeah. There you go, even better, right? Yeah, you get.
Those weren't no, no, hell no. I had a great fucking time.
Yeah.
Those weren't mistakes. I'm just saying that like that was what I was at 20,
Uh-huh.
and I enjoyed my time and it was great. I just, like you said, as I get older, now that I'm 30, it's life slowed down for me. Like I'm thinking about different shit now. So like I'd like to also like think about myself in, different
Do
terms.
you know who Tim Ferriss is?
He sounds
So he
familiar
wrote
now.
this book. It's called The 4 Hour Work Week. It's really interesting.
Oh,
Basically,
that sounds lit.
he's all about life hacking.
Mm-hmm.
Basically finding like shortcuts. I want to say necessarily shortcuts, but they're literal like life hacks that are super efficient. And so he also has a podcast, and his thing is talking to people who are masters at things, whatever it is their trade is, and finding out like, okay, what are your secrets, that you've learned over the years. And he compiled this book of like 200 different, masters he's talked to. It's called Tools of the Titans. And
Mm-hmm.
these 200, masters, break down their secrets. Basically, the basic principles of what's worked for them and what's made the difference. I feel like you'd probably be interested in something like that, man, because I have the book, and to me, it changed. It was a life changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what's interesting? Like, I would say 80% of the people he talked to, they all meditate.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So,
Um,
like, if 80% of all these like super duper successful people do meditate, it's like, there's got to be something to it.
mhm. It's just I mean, you're doing that now with yoga, dude. It's meditating isn't just staying still for like 20, 30 minutes. That is a form of meditation, but yoga, I do it in the morning and at night, so not only for the stretch, but to kind of just to center my body and get me right for the day because I don't remember my dreams too often, but when I wake up, it's a little difficult. Well, not really now because it's hella sunny, but in the winter it was hard to get up. Like it's cold, you don't want to do shit. You just kind of want to lay around and be in your blankets, but you got to get shit done. And yoga was just a great tool to get out of bed, center myself, and really focus my mind for the day. And yeah, I believe it that 80%, 80 that honestly feels kind of low. I feel like 90% or maybe 100% of focus. No, maybe no, maybe like 90% of successful people do some form of yoga or meditation.
Yeah, what's interesting is I do agree that yoga is a form of meditation, especially like when you can get to the point where you don't really have to think about the poses anymore and you get a certain amount of mobility and flexibility. You can really focus more on the breathing aspects and it definitely becomes
Mm-hmm.
meditative. But like in this book, we're talking just your traditional form of meditation of 20 minutes a day. And so it's like that's what really kind of got me started on that kick is like, well, I guess it's kind of undeniable at this point, right? If they're doing it, there's got to be something to it, and I don't want to close myself off and be closed-minded from not trying it. If I'm really trying to basically maximize myself and what I'm getting out of life, so it sounds like to me, I think you would find the book interesting, man, because like that meditation thing, that's just one of the patterns that gets revealed. It's really interesting. He talks to from the super athletes to tech gurus to you name it. That's really an incredible book.
What's it called again? Tim Ferriss.
It's
What?
called Tools of Titans. Actually, let me grab it. I got it right now. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to grab that. Um, yeah. So right now, oh shit, he's not on. But so right now I'm actually reading. I'm reading the Phil Knight book, Shoe Dog. Oh shit, that's a big ass book.
Yeah, so because it's literally because remember there's like 200 people in here that's
Oh, okay,
giving.
okay, okay. It's
Yeah,
not necessarily a book like
no,
a story
yeah,
book
you
where
don't
you.
read from like back to front. It really depends on what you're interested in. So they got like health gurus, financial, and they're just overall success. And he's even got like
Oh, okay.
stand-ups in here like B.J. Miller, Brian Callen. He's got people like Rick Rubin in here. So it's just it goes all over the place. But just people who
Okay.
essentially achieved excellence in one way or another. Then he interviews them and kind of tries to break down. Okay, well, what is it that made you excellent? How did you get to that point? And then it's basically summed up in that book. So it's an interesting read, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. Is there like, aside from the meditation, is there like a commonality between everyone in the book?
Um, you know, I'm not sure. Another thing is definitely waking up early.
Yeah.
I don't think you have a problem with that because I saw your email was sent like at 8 or 9 a.m. this morning, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is
I actually wake up at like I suffer from a little bit of like insomnia, but like I get my hours in. But usually when I have like good sleep, I'll wake up at my alarm goes at 6:30 and I stay in bed for a little bit and just chill, maybe reach for my phone. And then I for sure get out of bed at 7 to do my morning yoga. And then from there, I kind of just, I have my planner out for the day. Like I'm trying to build these good habits in order to, maximize my time, like you said, and maximize myself and really like, try to take myself a little bit more seriously, not in the sense of like, trying to make shit happen.
oh, and now another. You were asking what other patterns there were. A big one was journaling. Pretty much everyone in there has some form of journal or another, and the journaling takes many different forms. Some do. If you're like the 5 minute journal kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So some do it to where it's like a template. Like at the start of the day, you write three things that you're thankful for, and then you write three things that would make your day great. And then later at night, you write, three good things that happened that day and, three things you could have improved on. And then some people just prefer to just make it a stream of consciousness for 5 minutes, that kind of thing. But one way or another, everyone in their journals.
Yeah, that's actually a good one too. I write in my journal at least for 15 minutes in the morning, and every so often, especially now the last couple of weeks, I've been writing in my journal pretty frequently, not only in the morning, but just like random times throughout the day when I have a thought coming to me. And it's really it. I think it just helps flush out all your thoughts and let you see it instead of just thinking it. I think that's really helpful for me, and it's pretty therapeutic. I have like I have two journals that I write in. I have a comedy book. I have a business book. So I just have like a shit ton of notebooks just so I'm writing all the time because I hate typing honestly, and I hate being on my phone. So like writing is just it just feels hella good.
But your background is social media now, right? Instead of kind of
Yeah.
like work against, you not liking to
Yeah.
be on the phone.
Yeah. I hate it. Yeah, I definitely hate it. But luckily everything that I'm doing can go online because obviously you could go on Twitter on your laptop or you can go on IG. And that's not to say I don't fall out of these modes where I'm, kind of addicted to my phone a little bit. But I try to be more conscious of, okay, I'm just on here just to scroll. I'm not here to learn anything or do anything, especially with my line of work where I could get lost. With like what I'm doing now with social media, it's really just like content creation and community management. And, it's not too hard, especially because I have a great team. We kind of divvy that up. So I create the content. Like I'm on my laptop a lot of the day, but I'm also have my like notebooks here on the side writing down. So I'm not trying to not stare on my phone,
And this
but I'm
is
still
this
doing a
is
terrible
for
job of
the
it.
new job that you got, or this is for your own stuff.
It's for both. Um,
You got
wait,
you
wait,
you
wait.
got- you've got a team for your own stuff.
Oh, for my own stuff. Oh shit, no,
It's
not
like,
yet. I
damn,
wish.
man. Oops. Yeah.
I fucking wish, dude. That would be dope. I mean, I hope to have a team pretty soon because I mean, yeah, producing a podcast, as you know, it's fucking hard. Like, and I'm not gonna say I know everything. That's why when I record, whenever I record anything, like people always tell me, "Oh, you got to edit this, you got to edit that." I'm like, that takes hours. I got to put this shit out on Thursday. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm happy with what I said, and I don't regret anything I say. I'm dishing it out, and now I hope to, I'm actually on a break. I'm going, I'm ending season three. We're actually I'm releasing the 50th episode tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow, Thursday, and yeah, I'm just gonna take a long ass break, man. Just like I gotta like unwind my mind a little bit from all the shit that's been going on the last couple months and just like, personal shit and things like
Oh,
that.
so you break your podcast into seasons.
Yeah, I only break it into seasons because whenever I feel like taking a break. So not
Ah, okay.
necessarily. So there was actually this one stretch where where it was season two. Maybe we were like 4 or 5 episodes in. And I was like, season two's over. and then, and then I ran off like 30 episodes straight of season three.
Yeah,
And
because
people were
as
like,
I
why
say,
do you?
yeah, you were super consistent when I looked at it. It's like, holy shit, every week since the pandemic started, you've been putting one out.
Yeah, yeah. And there was even a week where I put two out. So I had one where my boy shout out DJ Ace. I had him on and we were just riffing. And then I had like a 15-minute one because I forget what event just transpired, but some crazy shit happened and I just had to talk about it for 10, 15 minutes. And then that's when I tried to catch up. Like initially I should be on episode 52 because there's 52 weeks in a year, but I had to take a couple breaks and episode 50 is not a bad place to like stop at for a while.
Also, do you definitely sounds like you don't really set a format for your podcast. It could either just you be talking to someone, or it could even just be you talking for 15-20 minutes.
Oh yeah. So basically it's called Off the Stoop. So I'm from the Excelsior district. So I mean, we used to have a house. My family used to have a house out there, and we had a stoop where all my friends and shit, we would kick it and shoot the shit. Kids, we meet up because we didn't have cell phones yet, and you do all that. And the stoop is like the place where you just like shoot the shit and you talk and you do whatever. And like I didn't want to format the show where I was like, okay, I have to have I say psychologist this week. I have to have this. I have to have that in order to make the show go. The show go. Like Off the Stoop was really just me trying to riff and do and talk to whoever I want on a weekly basis, and it's been cool to do, but it also causes a little bit of anxiety because I'm not gonna know how I feel next week. I'm not doing a show next week, but for example, like I don't know what I'm gonna do on a week to week basis. I think I said that earlier, so it causes anxiety, and it's also kind of when I do my solo episodes, it's kind of forced the journalism back out of me to kind of like talk about it 10-15 minutes. And it's also been just good practice for my comedy career, I feel like, because when you listen to my solo episodes, I'm going straight through. There are there are like quick pauses, there are things like that where you just know that I'm not editing or doing shit. I just want to do what I do, talk, and then dip.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, man. I think that's probably helps a lot in being consistent and putting one out every week because you don't hold yourself, to any sort
Yeah.
of expectations, really. I think that's super smart. But you've actually been pretty successful at getting guests. I notice, huh? Are these people just all within your circle? Like, how do you go about getting your guests? Because to me, like, because this the whole podcast thing for me, it's I love podcasts, and I would love to continue doing just the podcast. But it was also for me, it was a means for me to continue to develop the whole filmmaking skills. Because for me, every episode has a unique video intro for it, right, where I really try to push my
Yeah.
video skill set, and I've kind of painted myself in a corner with that because that makes it a whole lot harder to put one out every week.
Yeah.
It's like.
Well, no, that I was hella juiced when you asked me to do that. I was like, oh, okay,
No,
I'm
we're,
gonna
we're
learn that.
definitely gonna
Cool.
do that, but it's just like I said. For now, I'm
No,
putting that on hold, until
yeah,
I get
yeah, for sure.
vaccinated.
Um, I think it just it might lend to. Sorry, what were you? Sorry, what were you
No,
asking
it's
me?
just like I feel like the fact that you don't have a format just lent yourself to being consistent, right? But I was asking is you've actually have been successful in getting guests too, though. So how
Oh
have you
yeah.
been going about getting the guests?
So honestly, I kind of just go on. There's like a Facebook group where like a bunch of podcasters link up, and just they ask for support. So I don't actually do that shit anymore, but I just try to network a lot. um yeah, in those pages there's a lot of like, oh, listen to mine, I'll listen to yours, and I'm really not with that
Yeah,
bullshit because
that's
I'm
like
not
the same thing on IG, like for like or something like that,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly, like I'm not in it so you can like gain your numbers up or even gain my numbers up because I could give a shit because I'm actually trying to like build an audience and like
Yeah, you're
be
going
for
for
real.
true followers.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But networking wise, I just try to what, and this is why I say it kind of it lends itself into a little bit of anxiety. Like I don't know what I want to do. Like I have to sit down after my recording on Monday. I have to sit down, I have to chill on the audio or whatever. On Tuesday, I'll think like I'll read the newspaper, I'll go on Twitter, see what people are talking about, and think like, okay, am I interested in that? Or I'll think outside of that and say like, what do I want? Like one of the most successful episodes I've had so far was with Dr. Kevin Adal. He's a Filipino American psychologist out of New York, and he just taught me a lot about just like the history of Filipino psychology and crabs in a barrel mentality and why the way we are. And it was a dope ass episode. I think above all else too, I just want to learn from people. Like, you know, I think a lot of people now, especially in this day and age, they there's this like there's this pedestal that they feel like they have to be on to be perfect. Like they can't look stupid, they can't look dumb, they can't look, like like a slob or anything, but for me, like, I don't care if I look stupid or not. Like, I don't care if I sound like a fool. Cause like with that Dr. Nadal episode, I literally am trying to learn. Like, I'm trying to like better myself. So like, networking, a couple of those people are in my immediate group. Like my little bro Gile, he used to do my video. Now he works like with a bunch of people in the Bay Area outside of the podcast realm. So he was actually on my 49th episode. But as far as everyone else, it's like just people I feel like talking to, like subjects that I feel like attacking, and it's a great networking tool too. Like it's an excuse to be like, yo, like let me get your contact, let's talk on the podcast, and then you just try to form your relationship from there. Whether it works out or not, it's like remain to be seen.
So how did you hook up with this Dr. Kevin Nadal in New York? Because like I said, to me, networking is my Achilles heel, right? So like paint a picture for me. How did that even happen?
Yeah, so that was maybe like, I don't know maybe it was like first 20 episodes or something like that. I had started to think about like my Filipino American identity and just, toxic traits and just like things about, like I said, myself, things that I've inherited from my family, whether good or bad. I wanted to like explore that and see why I think the way I do, as far as, Filipino American terms. And I emailed a bunch of people, honestly,
Just
and
cold
then
emails.
just straight cold emails like, yo, I'm Wally Hipolito. I'm really trying to have Dr. So-and-so. Like I tried to talk to this doctor from Alaska. I didn't hear shit from him. I tried to talk to this doctor from Florida, from Missouri. So I just like straight mass email list. And with Dr. Nadal, it was cool because he was actually like one of the leading Filipino American psychologists in the nation. Like he's like big, he's like huge in the Philam community, which is cool. And it was just, his agent answered. I followed her on IG. I followed him IG. I was like, what's up? When we gonna do
Wait, the
this?
doctor has an agent?
Yeah, he has a publicist.
What? A
Yeah,
doctor?
he actually he could, because he's a doctor, and he works
And
at
does he
like,
sing too? Is it like a typical like Filipino like artista? He sings and dances and he's a doctor.
he might sing and dance. You never know, but but he might not might he's a professor at like this huge college in New York. He's a professor at NYU and like a big college of law in New York.
Okay.
So I guess his agent or his publicist handles all like, shit like, what I wanted. And we just, we had an exchange. We talked about it a little bit and set a date, and then we were good. Like it was it from there.
Damn. So it's essentially just a cold contact. Is that how you've been getting most of your guests?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow, that's impressive, man. That's that balls of just putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I was kind of, one story about my like a guest that I'm trying to have. I don't want to reveal her name, but I tried to get some like Filipino porn stars onto my show.
Dude,
right?
that would be hella interesting, dude.
Yeah, no,
dude.
I really like specifically because I could get any porn star to go on my show, right? But I specifically want to.
Oh, wait now.
Hey, I said my show, not my room, bro. But no, I specifically wanted to go Filipino because I want to see what like the dynamic was like between her and her family.
Yeah,
Because
that'd be hella interesting, dude.
Exactly, like with like any other race, it's kind of like taboo or whatever. But with Filipinos, there's so much like of this conservatism and like this American train of thought where it's shameful to do that, or
but you know what, like that conservatism, like with Filipinos, that's only skin deep, man. As someone who spent their 20s in the Philippines, so there are a bunch of freaks down there, dude. It's like
yeah, and I just wanted to see what her family life was like, and if she cared and things like that, just like kind of like explore her life. Like I really wanted to know that part, and my whole angle was like, yo, we're Philams. Like that's where the identity comes from.
Yeah, use it when it's useful, right? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I didn't hear a response. I was like, man, fuck you then. I didn't want you on anyways.
But there's got to be more than one Filipino porn star out there.
No, but I was trying to get the big fish.
Yeah. You know what? I gotta give you props for that, because yeah, why not go after the big fish then, right? That's really putting yourself out there, and to me, that's definitely something I had to learn, and I'm probably still battling with. It's like, yeah, why not go after the big fish and try to get them on your show, something like that. Even if you're a nobody. I mean, I'm saying you're a nobody. Obviously, your podcast is way bigger than mine. You're definitely headed in the right direction. But yeah, like props to you, man, for doing that.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. It's like what I was saying earlier. It's like it's just a part of not being like looking stupid, like you kind of gotta look dumb sometimes to do the shit that you want or get what you want. And I've put it in my mind a long time ago. Maybe it derives from like playing basketball and shit that I gotta try to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, that's interesting that you brought it back to the basketball, because I think that's something I didn't learn until like really late in my basketball playing days. Like so much of it was just mental, and having that it's really that killer mentality. It's the only way you
Yeah.
can really be effective out there. Is you gotta be like a killer on the inside. You can't be afraid. You can't really care. You just gotta just fully believe in yourself. But you know what? You're the dopest shit out there on the court, even if you're not. But you know
Yeah.
what? The one thing that I'm really good at, I sure am, and no one's gonna do it better than me. And I'm gonna get to my spot and hit that jumper every time. And
Mm-hmm.
for the longest time, I didn't realize that. I didn't
Yeah.
realize.
You this has worked against me too. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's all like sunshines and rainbows just because I have like this killer mentality and try to like work super hard. It's like it's fucked with my like personal life, honestly, and I don't want to get too deep into that. So it's fucked with me in other way. It's helped and hurt me in other ways where I'm trying to like learn how to like go through the motions. And that's why I said I'm like big on trying to learn myself now, because I came into my 20s and I left my 20s with like this fucking crazy like a shark in the water smelling blood. Like that's what my mentality was in every state of mind. But now I'm learning like, okay, you can be like that in here, but you can't be that here. Like you got to take a step back. And it's like this crazy dance of in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, you grew up playing competitive basketball, right? And that's just what it takes to flourish in that environment.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's like when people would complain about negative reinforcement or getting insulted. If you grew up playing basketball, that's all you get. That's what you're used to.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you
Yeah.
pieces of shit. Yeah, I'm a piece of shit. Okay, yeah,
Yeah. Like luckily you don't play for like Bobby Knight or something who
yeah.
throws a fucking
Oh
chair at
yeah, I
you,
mean,
right?
yeah, he's like the penalty. He's the ultimate, expression of the negative reinforcer. But you grew up playing sports. That's what you're used to. Come on, you little girls. Come on, you little faggots. Oh, you faggot. Yeah, I'm a faggot. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
keep pushing. It's like,
Yeah, and that's it works for a lot of people, and they achieve great things. But if I guess you don't get to that space that you want, it kind of fucks with you, and you have to really think about yourself. And like I said, you have to work on that of not being that aggressive shark or killer mentality everywhere. Like for example, dude, I'm a huge fucking Mike Tyson fan. I love that man, right? uh his trainer Customato, he actually hypnotized him at 12 or 13 years old, right? He was a hypnotist, a famous hypnotist. He told him like, "Hey, you're the best. You're gonna be the best. You're a killer. You feel nothing out there. You're a machine. Machines have no feeling. Your only goal is to knock this person out." And of course, it worked. I mean, Mike Tyson is fucking Mike Tyson. But when Customato died, even during like his career with him, he never taught Mike Tyson how to turn that off. So Mike took that everywhere with him, everywhere he went. So that's why he was like this angry dude, biting ears off, crashing Bentleys and fucking
buying
at a Burger King
tigers
drive-through,
and
buying tigers, because like he was just always on, and nobody had ever taught him to turn it off. And he didn't know he had to turn it off because he was the best in the world.
yeah,
What the
who's
fuck are
gonna
you gonna
tell him
say
to
to the
turn
best?
it? Yeah, who's gonna tell him to turn it off? And then
Exactly.
he was in his prime. It's like, hey, you do
Exactly.
whatever you want, Mike. It's like, yes.
Exactly. So it's one of those where like, yeah, you kind of got to learn. And he's learning that now. Like he has a great podcast. Like, man, that man, yeah, he's my hero, dude. I love that guy.
But did you see his fight against Roy Jones Jr.?
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's,
He had it. You could see he had it. He has the warrior in him still.
well,
Like,
that's the thing, right? Because, like I said, because I'm a big Joe Rogan fan, and I listened to every time Mike Tyson came on, and he would talk about before that he didn't even want to exercise anymore because he was afraid that it would unleash the beast within, right? And then
mhm.
when that whole Roy Jones Jr. exhibition fight came up, and he came back on Joe Rogan's podcast, you could see he was a different person, and they talk
Yeah.
about it that like they were scared. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is this guy. The animals there. It's
Like, yeah, no, dude, that's crazy because the first time he was up, he cried like Joe Rogan. You could tell Joe was like kind of tiptoeing a little bit. He was trying to like be sensitive to the fact, but in the second one before the fight, like you could see that Mike was just like he was back in that machine mode again, and Joe was tiptoeing not to be safe, but just to make sure Mike doesn't fucking fly on him right
yeah,
then and
yeah.
there. And it's just like, damn, like, and that's within a year of each other of like two
Yeah,
episodes.
so like to me is because I'm a big Mike Tyson fan too, but I almost kind of felt sad because I loved how he evolved into something else, right? And
Hmm.
he really evolved into just like this gentle soul that was really super self-aware and had found himself outside of boxing. And so I was a little bit sad when he went back into that boxing. I mean, I'll tell why I appreciate it because I loved him in his prime as a beast. It's just like,
Hmm.
man, that's kind of like he's kind of devolving into. I mean, obviously, I don't think he's gonna devolve completely back into who he was. He's a lot more self-aware, but it was just a little. I know it was a little bit like a little bitter. It was a bittersweet pill for me to swallow. I was like seeing that. I was like, oh, that's
But didn't you love it though? I honestly loved it because in the long run, I hope he is like you say, he's able to like, divulge the two between being in a war zone and then being like a normal person. But I love that. Like it was just so, and that might be bad for me because it just goes to show like you could flip the switch anytime you want, and I might go that way. But no, I honestly loved it, dude. It was a sight to see. The fight sucked, but it was dope.
though. I mean, I can like that's a good point. I do appreciate that a person can flip the switch because whether it's basketball or like I said, whether it's fighting, I used to do a lot of martial arts. You do need that switch. If you don't have that switch, you're not gonna flourish. You're not gonna survive. And that's what's needed. And I guess bittersweet. I almost kind of found it scary that he could go back into it so easily and so deeply, where he was a different person even during a
Mm.
podcast, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I completely get that, and I think to your point that I think the thing is he grew up that way. Like he grew up having to fight, and I don't know what he did to get back into that mode, but it probably wasn't that difficult. Now pulling himself out is probably the hardest part that he has to deal with. But I mean, you said you used to do Muay Thai, right? Like if you know Muay Thai fighters and a lot of like pretty advanced fighters, I don't know how deep you are into that practice, but like, the guys who are really, really fucking good, like outside of the ring, they're so chill.
Exactly.
And that's because like, they're secure in themselves and they kind of know that like, somebody tries to fuck with you, you're kind of you're gonna laugh it off because like, all right, dude, like you don't know me, like please. And I will never push a Muay Thai fighter to the extent where like, oh shit, he flipped the switch and he beat the shit out of me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think that's the piece that you get as not in. I don't think you get that same piece in boxing
Really.
because I think like if you look at Deontay Wilder and Joshua and maybe
But you look at that with Tyson
you know
Fury, I feel like he's got a little bit of that piece, right?
yeah, but before that he had to get to that piece because he was like a drug addict. He
Yeah,
like
he
had
went through his
crazy
depression.
demons.
Yeah.
So he had to get himself to that piece, and it's only now that he's becoming a champ. But Mike, he was like he's been a champ his whole life basically. And back to my story about Muay Thai fighters, like if you know you're good, Like you don't need anybody else to validate you. Like you could let people fuck with you like that, and you're like at peace with yourself in that sense.
But you don't feel that same way with boxing. If a boxer knows they're good,
No, I think it's I think also because of
because you got heavily into boxing, right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's just so much that goes around boxing when and as far as like promo and the lights and cameras and training, you're you're training for like 3 months, right? And then you get that one fight. And a lot of times, a lot of these fighters, they go straight into it. So you don't get that piece. Like you just went to war essentially. So you don't get that like month or two to just take off. Like they're already right when you win or right when you lose, they ask you, hey, like when's your next fight? And you're obligated to say like, oh, like I'm coming back in 2 months. Whereas Muay Thai fighters and things, they'll train lightly, especially like in the UFC, you won't see them for like 6 months at least. They give themselves like 2 or 3 months to chill, and their fight camps are probably only 6 weeks. So you have all that time to do whatever and kind of like heal yourself and chill and get out of that war zone mode. But boxers, like I said, you're straight to it right after. Because I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to get paid hella too.
That's interesting. Well, I would expect then, like bigger names definitely have a lot more time to rest, like a Canelo Alvarez or
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua, right? So I'd expect them to, find a little bit more of that inner peace. And I guess that's what it comes down to with going back to Mike Tyson is I felt bad just because a little bit of that inner peace that he found went away,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what, because I remember I listened to him on Joe Rogan talking about his, was it his DMD trip, right? He's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, at first I was like, no, 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 then yeah. You like a little kid, just like, just made me happy. But at the end of the day, he was just so happy to go back for that fight. It definitely, while it woke that beast up in him, it definitely woke up another part of him too. That's a core part of him. I guess you can never, like I said, he grew up that way, right? You can never
Mm-hmm.
really truly get rid of it.
Maybe, on top of the money grab, and this might be thinking a little too deep into it. Maybe he wanted to challenge himself in that way, not to get back into the ring or whatever, because he could have done that anytime, right? Maybe he wanted to challenge himself mentally to like, okay, I'm getting into this beast mode, this crazy mode, but I'm gonna take myself out quicker this time. Like I'm not gonna stay in it. I'm not gonna linger in it. Like once the fight is over, I'm gonna do the work and do what I need to do to be able to like get out of it like that.
Oh, did you listen to the post-fight interviews? He's like, "No, I want to get back again. I want more, I want more." But he did say that he wants to do it for a good cause, where all the proceeds goes to charity. So there you go. That evolved Mike is definitely still in there. One thing I did want to ask you about before we end things is, as I said, I was listening to your last episode, and your boy, what's his name? How do you pronounce his name?
Gile.
Gile.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was such a trip that you're his mentor. It's like what? It's like what? Like you guys are hella young, and you're mentoring someone. I was like, how did that happen?
Dude, he's actually only 23. So he's a lot younger than I am. Um I used to coach, so I went to school in Daly City. I went to Jefferson High.
Oh wow, you're really Filipino, dude.
Yeah, I'm hella Filipino. I had to take like the 14 up there and fucking, ride down
You
Mission.
stop by
But
Goldilocks.
oh fuck, I wish. Now I would stop by the Luckies and steal sandwiches. Um, but I think I was 21 and he was 14 or 15. I was the coach of the freshman basketball team.
Now it makes a lot of sense.
I was the head coach. Oh, throughout the season, I didn't look that much older than him. So like, and I didn't act that much older than him.
And they
To be
probably thought you were on
honest.
the team.
Yeah, they probably thought I was like a transfer. I was gonna like, take somebody's spot on varsity, maybe even JV.
Uh-huh.
And then when they found out I was the coach, they're like, oh shit. And they're like, they're like, oh, who are you? I was like, I'm Wally. They're like, Coach Wally. And Gile was one of the best players on like the JV team, and then they moved him up. And I don't know completely. And like me mentoring him and being like trying to be a big brother for him didn't start from there. It may have started when he was in college actually. I think that's when he started getting into film and stuff. And first he was vlogging, but like now he's like kind of upped his game to like uh product product
Oh,
shoots
like
and shit
brand
like that.
shoots. Okay.
Brand
Branding
shoots, yeah,
videos. Okay.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Um so yeah, when he was in college, I was doing a little bit of video myself and I was just starting to explore and I was just telling him like, yo, keep doing it, keep going, like you got this, like you got some good shit, just keep doing it. And he moved back up from slow and I don't know what it was, but I just gravitated myself to kind of just tell him to keep going. Actually, you know what it was? He was one of the only kids in like that group where I saw immediate like not even talent where he just wanted to do it, where I saw he was serious about it. So I was like, I'm not the best videographer or whatever you want to call it, but I have something to offer. I have like advice to give you. Like, I'll just keep giving it to you.
And he was open to it,
And he was open to it. And that's the biggest thing, right? He could just be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, I don't see you on shit. But he
especially at
was,
his age, man.
yeah, he was really receptive and, it was cool. And then ever since then, like, we just built up this bond and I try to impart wisdom on him. I think on the last episode, like I tried to impart a lot of wisdom on him all the time. And I kind of do it because I want to do it for him because I really see the potential in him and I think he has greatness in him. But most of all, like I didn't have a mentor myself growing up. Um, yeah, I think I explained. I think I may have said that one time or another. I had no mentors growing up, and not that I didn't seek them out. I just didn't know how to seek them out. I didn't know that I needed them, so I kind of went about the world just kind of blind, trying to like figure out my way into this world without knowing anything. Like I did the route like college and things like that and career for a little while, but I wanted like a lot more for Gile because and I wanted to be there for him and I wanted to be like a support for him because I never had that.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That it all makes sense to me now when I heard that you guys go back a while. Because when I heard that, I was like, obviously he was in his early 20s, and then listening to the podcast, I knew you were 30. It's like, how in the world does that happen? Whereas a 30-year-old's like
Mm.
mentoring this like early 20-year-old. Like you don't hear about that. It's like I was just kind of tripping off that. But now that you said, yeah, you got to go back to when he was a kid and you knew him. It's like, oh, it all makes sense now. Okay, you were there from a very early, even if you weren't mentoring him, but you can't help it. You're the coach. He's the player, right?
Yeah.
But yet you're still young enough where he feels comfy with you and he can really relate to you. It makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, exactly. And I never talked to him. Well, actually, I would tell him he's trash at hoop, but
Of
but
course,
who
you got
doesn't
it
say
right.
that, right?
Yeah,
Who
that's
doesn't say that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I never talked to him to like demean him or anything. I fuck around with him, I joke with him and things like that. But like like I said, I always try to encourage him and be kind of like just try to uplift him a little bit because I feel like he needs it, and not only him, but just like a lot of other people need it. And yeah, I saw the potential in him early on.
And so, at what point was it acknowledged that okay, this is a mentor mentee relationship thing we got going on here? Because he definitely seems to fully acknowledge it in the podcast.
Yeah, I would say around two or three, four, two, yeah, 2 to 3 years ago. I had just moved back from Hawaii. I was a chef for a little bit longer, but my body couldn't take it anymore because of things that go on with the things that go on with being a chef aside from the work.
I
Um,
don't know.
oh, you
I
don't?
don't.
Oh,
Please
dude,
tell me.
dude, you live like a fucking rock star when you're a
Really?
chef. Yeah,
I had
dude.
no
I mean,
idea.
not necessarily like you're getting paid buku money,
Yeah,
making big bucks and shit like
you're
that, but
drowning in
like
pussy, basically, is what you're saying.
you're
So,
you're drowning in pussy, doing drugs, drinking
I had
alcohol,
no
and
idea, man.
like it it goes fucking crazy. And if you get lost in that life, like you truly get lost. And I my body couldn't take it anymore, and mentally I was just checked out to the point where I don't want to do this. Like I know. shout out to all my chefs out there who like mentally are who are way mentally stronger than me, who are passionate about it. I kind of lost my love for it, and the life just started getting to like I was just tired of it, man. Like going out every night after like a 12-hour shift until like 4 or 5 in the morning. Then I gotta drive home, get 3 or 4 hours, come back for prep, just like and then like everybody else's eyes are like this, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I gotta get myself together so I don't look like shit.
Damn, how
And
long did that last?
about 2 or 3
Oh,
years.
so you got to experience a lot of fun too. Then you got your taste of it.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, especially if you live in one of the culinary capitals where people in particular are particular to fine dining and they love
Yeah.
food
Oh
in
my
the Bay Area.
lord.
Like, if you see a chef,
Yeah,
like,
you were
and
drowning,
we
man. You were drowning that pussy. You got that
no, I'm
life
not gonna
vest
say I
on.
was drowning,
Yeah.
but I had my nice chef. I had my nice chef fit on. I had a bandana. I always had a haircut. We had an open kitchen concept. It's like,
Oh,
all
oh
right, like,
yeah. Oh my
what's up? Like, what's
god.
up? I'm gonna slip you a dessert, and we could come talk
Yeah,
afterwards. But
yeah, you're my mentor right now. I can tell you that. There you go, dude.
hey, women love cooking, man, and that wasn't my intent when I came into chefing because I love food too. We're Filipino, we love food, but if it lends itself,
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea that the chef world was like that. Oh,
oh my God, dude, you don't even know. They're like, it's kind of fucked up. I mean, I kind of do compare the chef world to the comedy world because it's like there's a little bit of depressive state in it,
really?
like because you're kind of inoculating with yourself in drugs and alcohol. You're kind of you're 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 numbing your problems, whether it's physical or mental. You're like I said, you're off at 11 or 12 in the morning, right? What's open? Bars. Who are you going to go out with? Like the people that you're with now. And they're for sure going to go out. You're all 24, 25, 26. You're all fucking tanks. So you go to your favorite bar and you just like take them back till whenever, and then somebody has a house, something. That's the benefit of living in the city. You find something to do.
You have lived, you've had some good life experiences there. You definitely have a lot to talk about in your stand up now, for sure.
Well, I don't want to give away too much, but like, yeah, man, like that's why I feel like now is like I have shit to talk about. Like, and yeah, I'm excited
Yeah, I'm
about it,
sure
dude.
that's an understatement, man. I'm like, oh my lord.
When we get off cam, I could tell you a little bit more,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah, yeah.
expose
I'm not
too
gonna
much.
force you to expose anything, but we're going back to like how Giles came back into the picture. So you came back, you were a chef for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and Ja was getting better, so he actually links up with this trainer who also used to be a player at Jeff. His name is Milo, and he runs Milo Academy. It's like a basketball training center, and he does it like around the Bay, and I think he's mostly located in South City. Yeah, so his first job or like his claim to fame was that academy. So he was just doing basketball shit all the time, basketball videos, because that's the big thing now in basketball is the training videos, right? Like that's content. And I just kept telling him to keep going, keep doing it. And I would tell him like, yo, you got to work on the lighting here, like work on your transitions. Cause next to being a chef, I would come home and I would still do a little bit of editing. I would still do like, I would watch videos on editing, Premiere Pro and shit. And yeah, I would just give him these little tidbits or send him videos. And then when I started off or actually, I had the Double Dribble podcast before Off the Stoop. It was with my homies, and I was trying to get Giles to come in to do the camera and video work, so we can go on YouTube. But there was like 4 or 5 of us. The logistics were too crazy, and his schedule was kind of like, it was kind of like weird. But when I did Off the Stoop, he was like, "Yo, I got you. Like, let's do this. Let's make it happen." I was like, "All right, cool." So he helped me out for a little while. And, since then, he stopped because he's super busy, but I always told him, and I think this is why he fucks with me, is that I always knew he was going to eventually start to get too much work where he couldn't do my show. But he was super timid to tell me about it. But I'd always kind of reiterated to him, like, yo, if you can't do it, just let me know, dog. Like, let me know and I'll pivot. So, like, maybe after like episode 25, 30, no, maybe like sooner, he stopped doing video. So I stopped going to YouTube and I did all audio. And yeah, I told him, I was like, dude, like I always just wanted you to like do better than you're doing better. And I'm proud of you and just keep going, man. The show will be here if you ever do have time. Like, you don't even have to do the video work. Like, just hop on and we'll talk. But yeah, I mean, that's like my mentorship with Jal. Like, I'm just trying to help this kid out, like in ways that I wasn't helped. Like, I'm not his father or anything, but in there's a line, and I may have said this to him. There's a line in a song called "New Day" by Jay-Z and Kanye in the Watch the Throne album, right? He talks about, Jay-Z says, it took me 26 years to find my path. My only job is cut the time in half. I ain't got no kids. I don't have a little brother. I do have a godson that I love, that I hope that I can mentor and help him. But for now, I'm like, I wanted to help Jao like get to his path and get to where he wants to be, like quicker than I did.
That's interesting. So what makes you care about other people like that?
Being Filipino?
I don't know. I'm Filipino. I don't give a shit about other people.
Yeah. Nah, maybe it was growing up around nurses. Maybe it's wanting to be like a big brother to someone. I have a lot of little cousins.
Were you an only child?
I'm the youngest brother.
Okay.
My brothers are like 9, 10 years older than me.
Okay.
So like we kind of like don't really know each other as other than like, calling each other, other than me calling him Kuya or something, you know what I mean? But I guess Jal is like the little brother that I always been asking for, that I've always kind of wanted. And yeah, no, I got love for that kid, man. And to want to be his mentor, I don't know. Like I truly don't know. Maybe it's because he was receptive to it, and like, I've tried to be a mentor to my little cousins, but when you get DDT'd at 6 or 7 years old and you don't know why, it's kind of hard to recover from that.
DDT. Oh man.
Yeah, when you're getting rock bottom and you don't even know what the fucking move is called, it's like, oh shit, like maybe I don't fuck with this guy too much. But Jal was receptive and he accepted, so I was like, all right, like I'll keep trying to impart wisdom, whether it's video or just life, man. Like, and that's not to say it's just like one way. Like he teaches me a lot of shit too, like he teaches me a ton that I would never have thought of, or giving me different perspective of things.
Is a mentor something you're still looking for?
In a way, yeah, for sure. I think, going back to that Jay-Z line real quick, like I feel like if I had a mentor at a younger age, not that I'm blaming anybody for it, because, the onus is eventually on me to do what I have to do. But if I could have just like had somebody kind of steering me a little bit, it would have been a much smoother transition into like the shit that I really want to do.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very Filipino and even like Asian experience growing up. Because I don't know about you, but a lot, like in my situation, and a lot of people I know too, like being brought up, like their parents just expect you to turn out well just on their own. They don't realize, oh no, you gotta actually teach them life skills and give them,
exactly.
like guidance and direction. They just think they pop them out, and somehow or another, you just turn into great people on their own.
Like,
it's
like this isn't the PI, right? Like you could do that in the PI because you could see people around you and what they're doing, but like, bro, we're in the house. It's just you and me. Like who am I gonna learn from, and what am I gonna learn from other than you?
Yes, I can definitely like relate. Like growing up, I didn't even know what a mentor was. Honestly, I like the concept of one didn't even occur to me because
No,
I was very much just figuring stuff out on my own, and I just thought, oh, okay, I guess I just suck at it, and other people are better at it than I am. Because obviously they're succeeded way more. I just haven't figured it out. But as you get older, you realize, oh no, other people actually help. That's you don't actually do things on your own. There are people that could help you and guide you.
Dude, and I'm not saying you grew up in a fucked up way or anything. Like I'm not saying that you're not where you want to be, but like it takes a village.
You can say it. I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I want to be.
Look,
I'm completely honest.
I'm gonna let you say it. Like I'm not gonna bait you. I'm gonna let you say it. But no, they say it takes a village, man, and it's not just our parents our parents grew up with this mentality and necessarily grew up with this mentality where, you know, you got clothes and food on your back and, you know, you got a roof to sleep under. Like, you should be good. You should figure out the rest. But it's like, nah, dude, we're in America. Like, when you're in America, you didn't necessarily make it, like, but you are making it. So like, you kind of got to give, you got to kind of give like other parts of your life like real attention, you know?
Yeah,
And you know, I guess having kids is yeah, having kids is one of those things.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how much of it is because, like I said, it's definitely something that's it's a trend, you know, in Asian families where the parents don't really they're lacking the guidance and they you don't talk about love, that's for sure. You never say the word I love you. Yeah, like, that's never to be
Hmm.
spoken of, feelings, things like
You,
that.
you you gotta like write it in in a piece on a piece of paper and then slip it down
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
dinner table.
yeah,
Like, they're like, love,
yeah.
the fuck out of here.
Exactly. And these are like essential life skills that like a person needs, right? These are relationship skills. You need to know how to handle emotions and how to talk about it. And
Hmm.
I definitely didn't have any of that. Like you said, at the end of the day, you have to be accountable for yourself. But fuck, man, parents are part of that. Your programming when you're growing
Yeah.
up, and they're a big part of it too. But when you're by the time you're 30, yeah, you can't blame you. You do have to stop blaming them, and you have to take accountability. You know what? Okay, they didn't give me the tools, but it doesn't mean it's up to me now to get those tools myself and figure it out, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're stuck raising yourself, and I kind of deal with this as well, like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, that's that's essentially the job of the parent to, you know, a lot like the mentor, to impart wisdom on you to, and yeah, you're right. Eventually, you know, you're gonna have to stop blaming people and stop playing the victim. But like, you know, you still have to look back on those experiences and tell yourself like, oh shit, like my parents didn't teach me this, but you didn't know that up until now. You didn't know you were this fucked until, or I don't want to, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna call people
Yeah.
fucked. You don't know you were fucked in this way until like something happened or hit you.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's good to understand why you are the way you are,
Mhm.
but you can't let that, keep you in place, right? It's good to
Yeah,
know
yeah,
where it comes
exactly.
from. And, it takes a while to get to that kind of understanding because for a long time, I love just blaming it all on my parents. It's so convenient, right? So, no, it's because of them. They fucked me up. Yeah, that's why I'm like
Uh,
this. This has nothing to do with me now. But it's, I tell you, like, even to this day, so wherever as aware as I am, of that fact, it's just that programming is hard to break. It's kind
yeah,
of your default, right? Even as much as you try to learn new behavior, it's so easy to fall back into that default.
yeah, and that's one of the things that you kind of have to address with yourself, right? Like, see what you do in that default mode, and then try to not, I don't want to say fix, try to like attack that problem per se. And you know, I mean, you have to trace the problem to the root of it, and not to blame parents or anything, but like a lot of times the root of the problem is the parent.
Do you ever talk to your mom about it at all?
I try to, but you know, she's like very rigid like I am. So I'm actually taking therapy right now. I'm going to start doing therapy actually this
In
week.
person or just online?
Online. No, fuck no, I can't do it in person right now. Um, yeah, man, like that's one of the things, like I'm trying to like like not battle demons, but like I'm trying to attack these demons and eventually get comfortable enough where I could use it in my stand up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm like you said, I'm just trying to arm myself with tools to be, you know, just to be better and like become more well-rounded.
You know what's funny? As soon as you put your hair down, you just look 10 times more Filipino, dude. It's
You're
like
lucky I got a haircut
uh,
because last week I was like the sides were vicious.
oh man, dude, we've been talking for 2 hours already. I don't know how long your podcasts usually go.
Oh fuck no, dude. Mine cost like Mine goes like 45 at most to an hour. Oh damn.
Yeah, no, this is a blast, man. I mean, to be perfectly honest, like I said, you were the first one outside of my circle that I talked to. So it's like, oh man, I wonder how this is gonna go. I've never really done this before, and I found myself before the podcast even having the imaginary conversations in my head already. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing, man? I never do that. But so it's just like, oh, well, I really hope this goes well. And to me, it's like, oh man, this went fantastic. You were great talking to, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, it was great talking to you, man. Like, I had a little bit of that too, like, cause I didn't know we were talking about, and yeah, when you first hit me up, I was like, who the fuck is this?
Hmm.
And then
But
I
you
was telling
responded
myself
though.
like,
Why did you respond? That's interesting.
um, shit, just to try to build community, man. Just try to like get to know people. I mean, that's essentially like the basis of a podcast, right? To like learn about somebody and just talk to folks, like especially during this pandemic where human interaction has been kind of rare. If we could have been in person, this would have gone fucking crazier. Like, trust me.
No, we'll
um,
do it again, man. Because like I said, I do want to do one of those nice intros for you too. So we'll,
oh,
we'll do
cool,
this
cool.
again, man.
Yeah, I'm down. But no, like there's just like a synergy and an energy to being in person. And of course we can only Zoom right now. So I really just wanted to talk to more people, honestly. And I was like, Mike's cool. Like he reached out to me. I'm not gonna be a dick and not answer.
Yeah, because now you're on the other side of that equation, right? You've been reaching out to other people, to get them on, and now here
Yeah.
you go. The tables are switched. It's like, oh, are you gonna respond at all? Are you even gonna read?
Yeah, yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, but I guess that lends me to not being like a big porn star, right? Like
Do you get a lot of people reaching out to you the way I did?
surprisingly, and I mean like this wholeheartedly, surprisingly,
That's
yes.
awesome, dude.
Um, I get a couple of people who are like, yo, this has happened like pretty frequently the last couple weeks. Yo, can I ask you a question? I'm like, yeah. What's up? They say, how can I get an interview? I was like, so what do you do? And then I would hear nothing.
What?
Like I would get nothing back. And I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna do I'll flip onto your page, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like, and I told these people straight up because it happened maybe like a handful of times. And it's all like Bay Area artists and shit like that, right? I told them straight up, I was like, dude, I'd be down to interview you. I'd be down to have you on my show, but who are you? What do you do? And then I would get crickets, and I'm like, all right, dude, like, it's no skin off my nose. I was gonna have an episode out
Yeah,
regardless.
that's interesting. They would go through the trouble of reaching out to you and putting themselves out there, and then when you do actually take the time to reply, and then nothing.
Yeah, like they expect me as the podcaster to like kiss their ass because what, you're some type of artist or something, like not even a known artist, and not to like diminish anybody's like audience size or anything like that, but like I'm not anybody either. So like
No, but they're
at the end
asking
of
to
the
get
day,
on your show. It's like,
yeah,
fuck yeah. It's
exactly.
like,
Like you don't know who I am. I don't know who you are. So why would I interview in the first place? Like, let's have a pre real quick and talk.
so how long has this been happening when people have been reaching out to you? Is it like just within the last 3 months, or it's been happening for a while now?
It's been happening within like the last 3 months.
Okay,
Three, 4.
what do you attribute to that? Like, what's happened in the last 3 months that's really gotten it to take off?
Maybe because I just have more content out, and with the hashtag movement, people are going onto that, and just checking to see podcasts and how they can promote themselves, which like I'm definitely down for. Like I don't mind that, but like, I still just want to have a conversation with people. And I think that's what it is. Like the Bay Area podcast hashtag. I know for Filipino American, I know the Phil Lam podcast hashtag. I know a shit ton of my stuff is there because the hashtag isn't very big yet. But I know like if you flip through there, I got like tons of my stuff. And I think it goes the same for Bay Area podcast because it's mostly Bay Area folks who've been doing this
So,
to
what are
me.
the two hashtags? Because, like I said, I'm definitely need some tips in terms of this. So what are the two? So, Philam podcast.
Philam podcast, Bay Area podcast, and then definitely Filipino American podcast.
So, you've been having a lot
Um,
of Philams reach out to you then.
I've had a couple, but like I said, it's mostly Bay Area folks
Okay.
that have been doing that, hitting me up and then like fucking not answering me when I try to,
Dude, that's gotta be
because
so
I don't,
frustrating, man.
I'm just like,
Well, not
I don't
frustrating,
know if
just
it's,
annoying. I would say, just kind of
yeah,
like it just kind
yeah.
of irks at you, right?
I kind of just like laugh it off, like, all right, dude, like, I don't wish any ill will on you. Like, we'll keep it moving, but just like, don't hit me up and have me research you and kiss your ass and be like, oh my God, I gotta have you on. It's like, dude, we have the same amount of followers right now on my page IG. Like, we're at the same level, bro.
So like, you've reached out to a good amount of people at this point. Let me try to like soak up some more information for you. What kind of tips would you have in terms of reaching out to people to get them as your guest? Have you noticed like certain things? You have certain openers in your email that work really well, or what have you noticed?
Well, for me personally, I just kind of tell them like, hey, I'm Wally. I was gonna say Wally Filipino. Oh, but I actually have to get off in like 10 minutes. But I really just introduce myself and leave. I introduce myself. I say, hey, I'm Wally Hipolito. I have this podcast. Like, that I would love to have you or your client on to, talk about their life and see what, I feel like my audience could benefit a lot from you having you on. And a lot of the exchanges will be like, oh, how many listens do you have? And I don't have a lot of listeners like per week. And sometimes they buy, sometimes they don't. And I kind of just keep it moving. I take it in the chin. I try not to get too discouraged because, like, I'm not as big. I'm not really that big yet. And I'm just hitting a year. So it's all still a learning
I
process
bet
to
you've
me.
done pretty well, man.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you. I
yeah.
appreciate it, man. And I'm not trying to like diminish myself. It's just like,
Yeah, you're
I know
being honest of where you're at right now. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I got to be real, like I could say I'm fucking Joe Rogan, but I'm not.
Yeah. All right, then let's. I know you got to go. Let's go ahead and end it here. So, how can people like find what you got to offer there off the stoop? How do people get this? Just to let my viewers know.
Yeah, so you can listen to Off the Stoop on like all major streaming platforms, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeart. Follow me on Instagram at Off the Stoop Podcast. It sounds like how it's spelled. You can follow my personal at Wally Hipolito. The same is for my Twitter. I'm not on Facebook too much, but Off the Stoop does have a page, and honestly, I'm open to talking to anybody. Like, I'm not one of those people who are like snobby to like think I'm too much, like I'm too big to talk to somebody. People are trying to have a fucking conversation. Just hit me up in the DMs. Like, I'm down.
There you go. Slide into his DMs, ladies. That's what I heard.
Nah.
That's like, and if you just look at the hashtag Philan Podcast, he's like 99% of the posts on that hashtag.
Nah. Well, make sure you see the green sign and that's me.
All right. But you know what? We'll email after this because I am still going to do an intro for you. I'm just going to do an After Effects thing instead, since we're able to do this in person. So we'll
Okay.
do a thing where I'll just do like an animated slideshow and just send me like a few pics and we'll make it
Okay,
happen.
cool.
So like I said, I really painted myself in a corner with these video intros for each episode, man.
Well, I mean, bro, when the world starts to open up and like everybody got their shit, like that's gonna be some dope ass content.
Yeah.
Like that's the ringer
It
right
is,
there.
it is, and then that's what I'm trying to do. But for now, it's a good challenge to try to keep going anyway during these times.
Oh, for
Okay,
sure,
but
for sure.
Wally, thanks, man. This was a blast, dude.
Yeah, I had hella fun, Mike. I didn't even realize we went for 2 hours.
Yeah, I
I
know
thought it was
that's
gonna be like
crazy.
a
No,
45 convo.
no. So I like just let things flow, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, and if you ever need a guest for a podcast, just let me know, man. I'd be happy to be on there, dude.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
We got to make that happen
yeah,
when I come
yeah.
back on.
All right, man. Take care, dude.
All right,
See
thanks.
ya.
Appreciate it.